Nyatike Sub-County, Migori County, and indicate the respective amounts due to each as compensation. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary help us understand why has the government not paid out compensation to them years after the project commenced, and could the Cabinet Secretary further indicate the timelines for the same compensations? And lastly, Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary also explain the inordinate delay in completing the project of the Lower Kuja irrigation development project in Nyatike Sub-County? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Senator Eddie Kwach. First, I'll start by apologizing, Honorable Speaker, for the last sermon that I missed because I had an engagement with His Excellency the President. And straight to answer the question, Honorable Speaker, as a background, the Lower Kuja Irrigation Development Project is located in Nyatike Sub-County, Migori County, close to the shores of Lake Victoria, within the Lower Kuja Basin. The project is situated around 400 kilometers to the west of the capital city of Nairobi, almost 110 kilometers to the south of Kisumu County, around 45 kilometers to the northwest of Migori Town, and 15 kilometers to the west of Mugaa Township, Nyatike Sub-County Headquarters. The project covers 6 locations upon completion and 13 sub-locations in Nyatike and Karungu divisions. Honorable Speaker, in the year 2009, the National Irrigation Board, as it was called then, now known as the National Irrigation Authority, commenced a feasibility study, detailed design, and the preparation of tender documents for the project, including a pre-feasibility study for a water storage facility upstream of the project area. This, Honorable Speaker, was done by GIB Africa Limited to carry out the studies, which was completed in the year 2011. The study found that 7,717 hectares, that is approximately 19,240 acres, could be irrigated using river water at an estimated cost of around Kenya shillings 5 billion. Additionally, an extra 22,800 hectares, which is approximately 55,000 acres, could be irrigated by constructing a dam upstream of the project area. The 7,717 hectares that could be irrigated without a dam were fully designed, and because of a physical space, divided into 6 lots for each of implementation. The area was divided into blocks with net irrigation areas as summarized on table 1, where we had sub-area 1, sub-area A, B, C, and D, blocks at different levels, and also the net irrigation area in hectares is given. The total is 7,717. Honorable Speaker, the land acquisition process for Phase 1 began in the year 2012, where GIB Africa was contracted by the National Irrigation Authority to develop a composition for well-leave acquisition plan for the Lower Kuja Irrigation Development Project. And according to the final RAP, that is the Resettlement Action Plan report submitted by the consultant, Phase 1 of the project required approximately 710 acres for well-leave to facilitate construction of the necessary irrigation, drainage infrastructure, and related facilities. The valuation exercise determined that approximately 2,233 individuals currently owning the required land needed to be compensated in order to surrender their land to the project. The total amount, compensation value, was around 116,751 shillings, 225. Phase 2, in addition, that is in the year 2014, a consultant by the name Gedo Associates was contracted to offer consultancy services now specifically for canal wayleave acquisition plan for the Lower Kuja project. The scope of the assignment was to identify the gaps in land acquisition which had not been addressed by the GIB report due to succession issues. The consultant submitted the final report to the board on 16th December 2015 with a total of 873 project affected persons, we call them PAPs, with a valuation cost of 87,934,731 for a total number of acreage of 534 and 76 acres. Honorable Speaker, this was to be acquired for canal. Further, in the year 2020, the National Irrigation Authority requested Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, that is in Migori County, to carry out survey and valuation of canal wayleaves in a different block, that is Block 3, Block 3-1, Block M, and Block 21, that were either not conducted by the previous consultants or had land ownership issues while also taking care of livelihood restoration. The exercise was done and the report was submitted on 14th of June 2021 with a valuation amount of 28,237,602 shillings for a total number of 175 affected persons. The composition cost that was required in that case was 232,923,588. A summary is given. So for the 3 evaluation processes, 2011, 2014, and 2020, the total number of affected persons was 3,281, and the total valuation cost was 232,923,587 and 78 cents. Honorable Speaker, in July 2024, the authority, which is NIA, appointed a committee to review the compensation status for the project to enable the management to finalize the process. It was established that Kenya shillings 77,313,863 and 82 cents out of the total compensation amount of 232,923,587 and 78 cents had been paid to a total number of 981 persons that are affected out of the cumulative total number so far enumerated of 3,281 PAPs. The outstanding compensation currently stands at 155,609,724, as summarized in the table. The table, that is table 3, gives breakdown of valuation per timelines, the compensation amount, and the outstanding pending, where we have established that the total remaining is 155 million. Now, the table number 4 gives a breakdown of total number of PAPs, the number of PAPs compensated so far, and the number of PAPs yet to be compensated. The remaining is 2,300 persons. The authority secured a budgetary allocation of the 68 million to settle part of the outstanding compensation under this financial year. The compensation process is ongoing and is planned to be completed by 1st of August 2025. The balance, because now we have 68 million, if you subtract that from 155 million, the balance will be 87 million, which will be settled in the next financial year 2025-2026. Honorable Speaker, after review of the compensation status the management of the authority engaged National Land Commission for guidance on how to proceed with the exercise since it is within their mandate. This resulted in the visit to Lower Kuja irrigation project by the Commission and subsequent engagements with PAPs between the date of 18th to 22nd November 2024. On 5th of February this year, the Commission gave guidance on the process for finalization of composition for the project. In its communication, NLC, that is the Commission, gave the following guidelines: immediate payment of the available compensation fund amounting to Kenya shillings 68 million by the National Irrigation Authority. Number 2, well-leave acquisition for all title holders and persons affected, project-affected persons who formally declined the offers issued by the authority be addressed by the Commission, and the authority established a grievance dissolution mechanism, as that is expected in every evaluation, involving key stakeholders, that is the National Government Administration Officers, NGAO, the National Irrigation Authority, the National Land Commission, scheme leadership, and the people that are actually affected. The authority, in liaison with the Commission plan for final survey and vesting all the titles acquired in order to secure its interest. On 11th February, Honorable Speaker, the authority formed a committee to spearhead the compensation payment. The committee is currently on the ground and is preparing the required payment documents for the already available funds of 68 million Kenya shillings in collaboration with relevant stakeholders. The table below highlights the process or the roadmap and the timelines for composition of payments. As of on the roadmap, Honorable Speaker, by 15th March 2025, that is by Friday, the verification of PAPS Phase 1 is supposed to be complete. Step number 2 is payment of verified PAPS under Phase 1, which will be done by 25th March this year, of a payment amounting to Kenya shillings 24 million. Then we have step number 3, to address the grievances of PAPs with disputes under Phase 1, and the committee made up of NGAO, NIA, scheme leaders, and the PAPs themselves will be handled by 10th of April this year. Step number 4 is verification of Phase 2 PAPs, which will be done by NIA stroke the scheme leaders. That is supposed to be completed by May 2025. That is the roadmap. And upon verification of these, PAPs on Phase 2 will pay an amount amounting to 23 million by 15th May 2025. Honorable Speaker, the 8th step would be verification of Phase 3 PAPs, because the documentation of PAPs was done in phases, and that will be done by 1st of June 2025. Then there will be the payment of Phase 3 PAPs, which will be done by 15th July 2025, with a total amount of 21 million. The final survey and vesting all the titles required will be done by the 1st of August 2025, and this will be completed by 1st of August 2025. The total amount to be paid as per this roadmap by August 1st will be 68 million, and as Honorable Speaker have stated, the remaining 87 million will be loaded into the coming financial year. Honorable Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
Honorable Eddie.
Honorable Speaker, I am grateful for the responses from the CS, but with all due respect, Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether my question was that difficult to understand and answer. And I'll take you back to the question, Honorable Speaker. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of landowners who granted way leave for the lower Kuja irrigation development project in the sub-county, Migori County, and indicate the respective amounts due to each as compensation? Mr. Speaker, there is no list provided to this House of individuals who are called PAPs on this project, Mr. Speaker. And I think that, Mr. Speaker, my only conclusion can be that perhaps the CS is hiding from this House the fact that there are people who are displaced.
So before you conclude, Honorable Eddie.
Yes.
Honorable CS, just take your seat. You'll come back to the microphone. Honorable CS, that question was couched in plain English to provide a list. Why has your ministry not provided the list as requested?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The question that came to the ministry did not capture the list, Honorable Senator. But, Honorable Speaker, the question that came to the ministry is the question number 8 by Senator Eddie Okech. I read, MP on status of compensation of landowners who granted way leave for the Lower Kuja irrigation development project. Honorable Senator, I would provide list as requested. I submit.
So, if I get you correctly, Honorable CS, is that the question that was sent to you did not request for a list to be provided?
Yes, Honorable.
Your position?
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, we will come back to that because I've requested the clerk to retrieve the original question that was dispatched to your office so that we get to know exactly where the problem lies.
Mbona provide list jamaa?
So, Honorable CS, has the clerk assisted you to
Yes.
see the pro forma?
Yes.
That came from the Senate.
Yes.
What is the question?
Honorable Speaker, my apologies, and to the Honorable member, and to the House. Sorry, I am new to the House. So, my apologies. The question that read, question number 8 by MP on status of implementation of landowners who granted way leave for the Lower Kuja irrigation development project. There was an attachment, as I've been guided by the clerk, that could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of landowners who granted? That is noted. and Honorable Speaker, we can submit that as required. But the question number B, on why has the government not paid out compensation to them?
Honorable CS, let me just guide you. You have not responded to the first limb of the question by the Senator for Migori. So you will have to come back before this House.
Thank you.
To respond adequately to that question. Now let's move to, because even the Honorable Senator cannot interrogate you on the first limb of that question. And therefore, let's move to B. Let us move to B, interrogate B, and then we will give guidance on when the first limb of that question will be responded to. Certainly not today. Yes, Senator Boni. Just have a seat, Senator.
I note happily that the minister has acknowledged that he's new. Mr. Speaker, limb A is the foundation of the question. And therefore, the fairest you can give him is for him to go back and come with a proper question on a different day. Otherwise, we will give him the impression that he can come to the House and answer his own question. He can only answer the questions of the House, Mr. Speaker. I request.
Very well. Honorable CS, are you in a position to respond adequately to limb 2?
Honorable Speaker.
Without providing a comprehensive response to limb 1 of the question. If your answer is yes, I will allow you to proceed. If your answer is no, let us not waste time. Let us just defer this particular question until such a time that you're adequately prepared to respond to it. Just a moment. Yes, Honorable CS.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
I just asked.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
The first question was a list. The second question was, why has the government not paid out, which is what I have responded to. And the third question was, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the inordinate delay in completing the project?
Yeah, but Honorable CS, you know the substratum of this question is that list.
Yes. Okay.
So everything else flow from that list. Yes, Honorable Senator for Kitui.
Mr. Speaker, it's a sad day. It's a very sad day that a CS has gone on record on the floor of the House that he actually received questions from the Senate, but just read the covering letter. That's what he has said. That actually he just read the covering letter, he did not read the annex that contains the questions, then he went ahead to answer questions based on the covering letter. Mr. Speaker, this is a demonstration of how casually this minister and this ministry treats this House. Mr. Speaker, I want to implore you, Mr. Speaker, and I said this before, restore the dignity of this House by requiring the CS to forthwith cease from addressing this House on that matter, to go back and read the question, respond to our questions, then we can engage him. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Nairobi.
Honorable Speaker, let us not forget that this question was supposed to be responded to a while back. You remember when the minister failed to appear in the House, and I was saying that he's an individual that I do not know at all. It's good that he has shown up today, but Honorable Speaker, you can see the frustration of the people of this country with the sort of leadership that we have. First of all, even when the minister claims that he can respond adequately to the second question, look at the response you have supplied to this House, Honorable CS, that you have consultants doing something in 2012. In 2012, telling you these are the parcels of land that are affected, these are the owners of the land, and this is the amount of money that is required to be paid. You send another consultant years later to do the exact same thing, Honorable Speaker. And then a third exercise to do the same thing. And when he asks the senator for Migori, why is it taking so long? We are being told there is a verification process. The very same thing that was done in 2012. Honorable Speaker, you are also being told that completion of payment, you already have the money. You are telling us it takes 6 months to send money to 2,000 non-people. Honorable Speaker, when he says the next batch will be paid in the next financial year, August of 2025 is the next financial year. So, Honorable Speaker, what you do...
Honorable Senator,
yes,
let us agree on the way forward.
This is where I'm coming to.
Because you're interrogating the response.
This is what I'm coming to.
We have agreed here that we don't interrogate the CS on this whole question.
This is what I'm coming to speak.
Yes.
This is what I'm coming to.
Then get there fast. Because you're interrogating the response.
No, because, Honorable Speaker, you put a question to him, and I can tell you for a fact, even if he was allowed to go to the second limb, we would be more annoyed than we are right now with that response. So, this CS must be told to take his work seriously, to take this house seriously, so that when he comes back here, he responds to the questions that have been posed to him. Otherwise, he can also run to be Senator of Migori, ask his own questions, and run back to his ministry to answer those same questions. Those are not the questions the people of Kuja are looking for answers for.
Now, Honorable Senators, let us make progress on this matter. We have agreed that the question by Senator for Migori has not been responded to. The CS has proceeded to ask a question other than the one that has been asked by the Senator for Migori. That being the case, therefore, we will defer this question, and the CS will appear before the Senate on Wednesday next week for purposes of responding to this particular question. So we now move to question number 009 by the Senator for Makueni. I hope it will not suffer the same fate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had asked the CS Cabinet Secretary, could the Cabinet Secretary provide an update on the status of the construction of Thwake Dam in Makueni County and explain why construction works have stalled? And B, what measures has the government put in place to ensure the timely completion of the dam, and could the Cabinet Secretary give timeline? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now respond.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, honorable members. Honorable Speaker, 2 questions from the honorable member. I'll give first a background on Thwake Dam in Makueni. The government of Kenya and African Development Bank, through the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, is implementing Thwake Multipurpose Dam project. The program involves phase 1 of construction of the 80-meter high multipurpose dam with a storage capacity of 688 million meter cubic and associated preliminary works needed to enable implementation of phase 1, phase 3, and phase 4 of the program, which involves water supply, hydropower generation, and irrigation development, respectively. The dam is a flagship project under Vision 2030, medium-term plan 2023-2027, and the better services delivery roadmap. The implementation of the program is geared towards realization of universal access to water and sanitation and food security in accordance with Article 43B, C, and D of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the completion of Thwake Dam construction and implementation of downstream components is critical in the realization of the semi-arid eastern region, economic viability through the harnessing of runoff during the rains, and the release of waters for various uses in Makueni and Kitui counties, among the water supply of around 150,000 meter cubic to 1.3 million people, including water supply to Konza Techno City in Machakos County, generation of 20 megawatts hydropower to boost water supply and distribution. The supply water from the dam for irrigation of around 100,000 acres downstream of the dam. Areas to be served include Wote Town, Mavindeni, Kalawa, Kathonzweni sub-county, sub-urban centers in Makueni, Kanyagi, Kalulini, Ndongoni, Kisiani, Kwavonza sub-urban centers in Kitui County, and provide backwater supply to Konza Techno City in Machakos County with a cumulative distribution lines of approximately 800 kilometers. The sanitation services will benefit over 10,000 people in towns of Wote and Kibwezi in Makueni County with a trunk sewer line of 445 kilometers. Honorable Speaker, to respond to question number 1 on the status of construction of Thwake Dam in Makueni, the construction of the 80.5 high Thwake multipurpose dam with a capacity of 688 storage capacity is ongoing, with civil works on dam construction at around 94.2% completion level. The embankment dam filling, which is one of key components of the dam, is recorded at 99%, achieving the required level of elevation of 916 meters above sea level. The last layer was placed on 18th June 2024. The spillway progress stands at 94%, and the upstream and downstream coffer dams are completed and operational. This being a rock-filled dam structure, a period of 6 to 9 months was required from the last placement on 18th June 2024 to allow the dam embankment to settle and stabilize before the concrete face slab works are carried out as recommended by the World Dam Safety Panel of Experts, which was achieved at the end of January 2025. The remaining works are on the concrete face slab placement, which is the plaster, the spillway bridge, and hydromechanical equipment installation. The construction period was expected to end on 7th December 2024. The anticipated completion date of the dam could not be realized because of for the following reasons. There was delays in works progress because of an increase in dam height from 77.5 meters to 80.5 meter to increase storage. Weak foundation of the dam at the riverbed, which was discovered during construction, necessitating excessive excavation and special treatment. There was the pandemic, COVID-19, and Ukraine issues that resulted in scaling down of labor force and lack of explosives in the country. Then there was adequate time required to allow the dam embankment to settle before the concrete slab is done. Honorable Speaker, the increase in dam height and weak foundation at the riverbed section of the dam necessitated additional works, resulting to changes in the cost of the dam construction, which requires additional financing to complete the remaining works. The National Treasury, through the letter reference number TNT/RMD/01237/01/01F8, dated 15th November 2024, sought for additional financing from Africa Development Bank to enable completion of the remaining works on the dam construction. The African Development Bank is currently undertaking an appraisal to determine the level of additional financing required. On question number 2, timelines for completion of the construction works on the Thwake Dam. Honorable Speaker, the remaining dam construction works are on the concrete face, slab placement, spillway bridge, and hydro-mechanical equipment installation. These works were due to commence once the dam embankment settlement rate of 5 millimeter per month and below has been achieved, as advised and adopted by the Dam Safety Panel of Experts. The Ministry and the Dam Supervision Consultant, in consultation with the Dam Panel of Experts, has been monitoring the settlement level of embankment over the last 7 months, that is from July 2024 to January 2025, based on the adopted and recommended rate of 5 millimeter per month and below threshold. Honorable Speaker, as of 30th January 2025, all settlement recordings for the critical section of the dam embankment and reduced to below 5 millimeter per month threshold and stabilized, ready to commence phase slab construction. The contractor has therefore been instructed via letter reference number 5083077/2024 and NEK/13-293 dated 20th February 2025 to immediately commence execution of the remaining works on the concrete face slab placement, spillway bridge, and hydromechanical equipment installation. The contractor is required to ensure all remaining dam construction works are completed by 30th October 2025. The contractor has submitted a program of works on the same, which is currently being evaluated to this effect. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Honorable Senator for Makueni, you may now ask your supplementary questions.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I've got, although there has been an attempt to answer the question, Mr. Speaker, I have asked in A, why the construction works have stalled. Mr. Speaker, we've been told about the war in Ukraine. I have not seen the nexus, and I can confirm, as having been a member for Makueni constituency, that during the COVID times, the works never stopped at all, Mr. Speaker. What happened then was that there was, the people who are working there never left. They were constrained to that particular place and never interacted with other people. And therefore, COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine, and even the so-called explosives, because I doubt whether we were exporting any explosive from Ukraine, that really ever stalled the work. Mr. Speaker, this dam has stopped completely, and everybody's sent away in the last 1 year or so, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I have not heard the reason as to why the dam has stalled. On B, I have asked on timelines, Mr. Speaker. I have not, in all the previous years and the other cabinet secretaries, they have said we are ending in 4 years. They have said the dam will be done on such and such a date. I have not had such a day. And although the contractor has been instructed to complete the dam, I would like to ask the cabinet secretary whether they have made payments to the contractor up to date, because I'm aware the contractor, having not been paid, completely ran out of funds and, in fact, to my own knowledge, left the country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable CS, according to the Honorable Senator, you have not given reasons why the dam has stalled. And second, you have not given the way forward as to when this dam will eventually be completed. Can you proceed to respond, please?
Honorable Speaker, the Thwake multipurpose dam is a rock-filled dam. A rock-filled dam, this will be the biggest dam in this country with a storage capacity of 688 million meter cubic. When you construct such a dam and you are done placing the rock fills, you give the embankment time to do what we call settlement. In that period, Honorable Speaker, when settlement of the wall is taking place, which takes, as I've indicated, takes between 6 and 9 months, you reduce the concrete face. If you place the concrete face without proper settlement of the dam, the concrete face cracks. When the concrete face cracks, you find yourself with a weak dam that is seeping. And the world experts, the World Dam Safety Panel of Experts recommends a period of 6 to 9 months. That responds to the question on why the workforce had reduced in the works. Secondly, the question on the way forward. Payments from Africa Development Bank require no objection. As of last week, I'm informed that we got the no objection from Africa Development Bank. Honorable Speaker, payments of the pending certificates are being processed. Thank you. I submit.
Yes, Senator for Kitui.
Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, I would attempt to even try to educate the CS on this dam. This dam is not just in Makueni. This dam is both in Makueni and in Kitui. In your brief, you left that out. Now you're educated. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, you know, the CS, you say this is the first time here, but just relax, Mr. CS. You're double speaking. Double speaking because on the one hand, you're saying that the ADB, in your response, written response, the ADB is evaluating the financing gap. The second side of your mouth, you're saying the contractor has been instructed by 25th of February to be back on site. Speaker, if my calendar serves me right, we are past the 25th of February. I think this is when? This is 13th, 12th of March. So I expect that the machines are rolling. If the machines are not rolling in Thwake, Mr. Speaker, then again maybe you may also decide again for this question to stand down the CS. Because in his own submission on the 25th of February, works should have resumed in Thwake Dam. On the 12th of March, if that has not happened, then he should either revise his response or explain what has happened. Mr. Speaker, lastly, at some point I lent a friend of mine some money, Mr. Speaker, just little money, not a lot of money, some little money. And when I followed them up, they started talking about COVID, this COVID thing. So we had conversations until sometimes last year, they started talking about, Ukraine, this Ukraine thing. Mr. Speaker, what is the connection between the war in Ukraine and a dam being constructed in Thwake, in Makueni and Kitui counties? The distance from Thwake Dam to Kyiv in Ukraine is 9,177 kilometers. What's the connection? What's the nexus, Mr. Speaker? I submit.
Honorable CS.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for the question. Yes, the dam will serve Makueni. It will also serve Machakos, and it's also serve Kitui. But the Honorable Member, Honorable Speaker, has asked a question about payment and how is explosives related to dam construction in Kenya. During war, our access for explosives that are required to blast the foundations of this rock bed was not very easily accessible. That slows, Speaker, that slows the progress of works.
Order, Honorable Senators. You have asked a question. Let the CS respond.
And
Honorable,
the dynamics.
Honorable CS.
Honorable Speaker.
Is it your position that the explosives that are meant for this dam were sourced from Ukraine?
No.
And therefore, because of the war in Ukraine, you couldn't?
No. It's a global market, Honorable Speaker.
So just proceed. Just proceed. Just proceed, Honorable.
Honorable Speaker.
Let me help you, Honorable CS. The question that has been asked by the Senator for Kitui is, what is the nexus between the delayed works of this dam and the war in Ukraine? Just explain to the House the nexus between the two. And secondly, you've indicated in your written response that by 25th of February, work ought to have resumed. And the question from the Senator is, are the machine now roaring? Because we are on the 12th, we are now on the 12th of March. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, if I may respond on the question of the nexus between Ukraine war and dam construction. First, Ukraine war affected global economics. So even Kenya is part of the global economics, Honorable Speaker. The question on the letter to instruct the contractor to actually consider with the works is in the anticipation that you would get no objection from African Development Bank, which we actually have gotten. We have some uncommitted funds that we are processing payments. But to finalize this dam, that's where the appraisal comes in. Engineering projects have what we call project appraisal at different stages of execution, because cost can vary. That explains why we need to do an appraisal. It's a normal contractual implementation requirement for us, not only as a ministry, but for any engineering project of this magnitude and size. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Chute. Senator Mrango.
Asante sana Mstahiki Speaker. Swali langu ambao ningeuliza, nadhani waziri anaweza kujibu, kwa sababu ni jambo ambalo limekuwa likisumbua watu wengi. Mstahiki Speaker, mnamo tarehe 1 mwaka wa 2023 WRA iliongeza maji kwa wakulima na wenye wanatumia maji. Na mnamo tarehe mnamo mwezi wa samba mwaka 2023 kulikuwa na agizo la mahakama ambayo likuja ikasimamisha watu ambao wanatumia maji ya ukulima na kukunywa wasiendelee kulipishwa maji mpaka isikilizwe. Swali yenye ningetaka kuuliza waziri, kwa nini mpaka sasa hivi wananchi wa Kenya wanaendelea kulipishwa maji ambayo iliongezewa kutoka sumuni mpaka shilingi 5 kwa kila lita 1000 na kuna agizo la mahakama? Hilo ndo ni swali ambalo ningetaka kuuliza waziri. Asante.
Honorable CS, just note the questions. You respond them at a go. Senator Kavendu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to Honorable CS is about the river, Athi River, which takes water, flows all the way to Tana, to Thwake Dam. It has a lot of dirt, and I wanted to know what Honorable CS is doing, and how far Maruba Dam has gotten now in Machakos, because it has been stored for so long, and Mwania Dam and Yata Dam also stalled, and compensation of those dams. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sige Wakele.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to ask a question to the Honorable CS pursuant to a report Cabinet released yesterday with regards to Boston Dam, that is within the county of Bomet. And my question is with regards to the kind of an arrangement that the approval was made, whether it is a concession that will require further advertisement on the process, or it is within the earlier arrangement that had been made. The release in itself, Mr. Speaker, did not clarify the formation within which that approval was made, and I would like to know from the CS in what formation was that approval made? Thank you.
Senator Beatrice Akinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. To the CS, my concern about the development of the dams and not only Thwake Dam is, why does the government begin their projects before landowners are compensated?
Senator Mundigi.
Thank you, Bwana Speaker. Asante kwa wasiri kuwa leo ni siku yake ya kwanza kuja kujibu maswali na nipongezi. Bwana Wasiri, katika Embu County tuko sub-county 4 na kuko na damu ambazo ni 3 inafaa injengwe kwa sababu ya kilimo ya mirasi Mugaa upande wa Mbeere North na Mbeere South. Kuna damu inaitwa Thambana Dam ambayo inaweza kusaidia kilimo ya Mbeere juu ya hiyo kilimo, na pia kuna damu inaitwa Kamumu Dam ambayo iko Mbeere North, na pia those inaweza kusaidia Runyenjes sub-county na pia Tharaka-Nithi. Ningeomba kujua wasiri hiyo kazi itaanza wakati gani ndio Embu County wakati huu iserekee kama county zile zingine 47. Asante Bwana Wasiri.
Senator Eddie.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to stick on Thwake Dam because I've had very interesting comments and answers from the CS, including that this dam was stuck at explosive stage because of Ukraine war, which is very interesting because it appears to me like, because the war is still continuing, this dam is still going to be stuck at the explosive stage, and apparently, no, it's not information. I'm talking about what
Senator Eddie, would you wish to be informed by the senator from Mombasa?
The senator of Mombasa.
It's yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Let me be informed. He's a senior member. He's a ranking member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want to inform my brother, Senator from Migori, that the Ukraine war is about to enter into a ceasefire stage. So hopefully, in the next 1 week, there will be no war.
In the meantime, the dam can wait. But then, Mr. Speaker, my question, based on that backdrop, is very simple. What component of the Thwake Dam project was the responsibility of the Kenyan government squarely in your ministry? And what component of it was ADB component? And could you share with us the agreement that defines that component and responsibility between the national government and ADB, to the extent that then you show this house which component is lagging and which component is struggling? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mariam. Senator Mundigi, you cannot raise a point of order when no senator is on their feet. Senator Mariam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is, Mr. Speaker, there is 100 mega dams which the government has been promised, and out of it there is Banisa, which is Malkamari Dam, and it has not been forthcoming. I'm asking the CS, what is the reason that this has not been implemented? Thank you.
Senator Karungo. Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question to the good CS is to give us the status update of the Githunguri and Thika water. We understand that the cabinet approved the project under the financing agreement through Danida, so we'd want to know what the status. And Mr. Speaker, we also understand that the contractor withdrew or terminated the contract on Ruiru Dam project. And after terminating the contract, the financiers withdrew, financiers from France. So is the cabinet or is the department allocating some money for this project that is the Ruiru Dam? Thank you.
Senator Omtata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First of all, I would like to ask the Honorable Cabinet Secretary about the dams that were to be constructed in Busia, including the Angololo Dam, the dams to control the flooding in Budalangi, and all those elaborate projects. Why is it we don't hear of them anymore? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Matthew.
My more substantive question to the CS, and I wish him well. I hear there is a cabinet reshuffle coming. I hope you survive. My question, Honorable Speaker, to the CS, I mean, it's on a light note. More specifically on the issues of Nyandarua. On the 23rd of August 2023, Honorable Speaker, President William Ruto was in Nyandarua, and there are 2 dams or 3 dams that have been a campaign tool in Nyandarua, the Kinja Dam, Marawa Dam, and the Pesi Dam. And on that specific day of 23rd of August 2023, President William Ruto said, ndani ya miezi mbili, hii damu yetu ya Pesi, I'm quoting quote unquote, hii damu yetu ya Pesi, itakuwa imeanza. I would want to know, Honorable Speaker, because it is not even now 2 months since he promised. It is now close to 2 years since he last promised. What is the status of that particular dam, specific dam, Pesi Dam, so that he does not again come next year or next election and he says again, ndani ya miezi mbili? Thank you, Speaker.
Senator George Mugaa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of the Thwake Dam, Mr. CS, under the 4th schedule of the Constitution, water is largely a devolved function. Are you in a position to tell this House what engagement you've had with the county governments of Makueni and the neighboring on the utilization of this water? Thank you.
Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would want the CS to tell us a story about what is happening in Marsabit in terms of sewerage system, which has delayed for the last 5 years, and the water system, which is supposed to be completed about 5 years ago. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Good. Now, Honorable Senators, if you look at our standing orders, more particularly Standing Order 51C7B, that gives the power for senators to ask supplementary questions. As supplementary questions must be related to the original question. Now, the original question as asked by the senator from Makueni is on a particular dam. You honestly do not expect the CS seated here to have all the facts on dams across Kenya. He came here prepared to respond to a particular question. And any supplementary question must flow from the original question. And therefore, I will allow the Honorable CS to respond to the supplementary question by Senator Eddy and Senator Mugaa. The rest do not qualify to be supplementary questions. You may proceed, Honorable CS. Respond to the supplementary question by Senator Eddy and Senator Mugaa. And Senator Kavindu. Those 3 supplementary questions only.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I'll start with the question on engagement with counties. The ministry works together with county governments.
That is the question by Senator Hu, Honorable CS. I have directed you to start with the one by Senator Eddy. You respond to the one by Senator Kavindu, and you end by responding to the supplementary questions posed by Senator Mugaa. In that order.
Then, okay. Mongoni is not part of Thwake. Okay. Thank you, Speaker. The question from Honorable Senator Eddy is what is the role of, because of the varying components, the role of Government of Kenya and the role of the African Development Bank. Thwake Multipurpose Dam is funded by the 2 institutions. The government as a component, which is less than 10%, and ADB as a component that is the larger scale. So that is the role. But the supervision, AFDB is just the financial. On supervision is done by the Government of Kenya through the ministry. That is clear definition of roles. However, any expenditure, we are required to seek concurrence.
Yes, Honorable CS, kindly be more specific on the component that is on the shoulders of the Kenyan government and the component that rests on the shoulders of ADB.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I can give...
If you had the Senator correctly, he even requested if you could make available...
Yes, I'll give the amount.
The agreements.
Yes. The cost is financed through a concessional loan from the African Development Bank at a cost of 35.645 billion. That is from the African Development Bank. And the government of Kenya was meant to contribute 6.71 billion Kenya shillings. Those are the exact values, Honorable Speaker. There was a question on the Nairobi catchment.
Proceed, Honorable CS. Proceed.
There was a question on the dirt that is in Athi River. And first I will clarify that dams, during design of dams, we consider what we call retention. That is a factor, and that was considered during design. However, under a different program, we have Nairobi Rivers Restoration Program that will aid in reduction of that retention of the dirt. Honorable Speaker, there was the question on our engagement with county governments, considering that water is a devolved function. And to respond to that, Honorable Speaker, is that water being a devolved function, the role of the county is to provide last mile services. However, in our relationship, intergovernmental relationship, we always engage county governments. That is the county of Makueni, the county of also Machakos, to ensure that when this is complete, and we do a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, because those are the other phases that will actually give water for consumption by doing a 150,000 meter cubic treatment plant and a distribution network to the people of those counties, then the last mile and also service provision will automatically go to the county governments. Thank you, Speaker. I submit.
Now, Honorable CS, there is a feeling, a general feeling, which feeling I associate myself with, that this question has also not been adequately given due attention. And therefore, question number 008 and question 009 will still appear on Wednesday next week. Go prepare yourself adequately for purposes of responding to these two.
Well advised, Speaker.
Yes, Senator Wakili.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I felt you were releasing the Honorable Cabinet Secretary, but then in his comments to respond to the questions which you had directed, there are other questions which you said they don't qualify pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 53, which, Mr. Speaker, I am duly directed. But I wanted to request that in terms of Standing Order number 1, because the CS seems to have been ready to answer those questions, they are relevant to the interest of the people of Kenya we represent. If, and pursuant to this provision of Standing Order, allow him to do so, so that even as he prepares to come back on Wednesday to respond to those other specific questions approved, Kenyans will have also heard from him as to those other questions the honorable members have requested.
Honorable Senator, we only have 8 minutes to interact with the Honorable CS. 8 minutes will not be adequate for purposes of responding to the many supplementary questions, even if the CS is ready to respond to. And therefore, let the CS go back to his ministry, prepare adequately for these 2 questions, and also note to capture the supplementary questions that had been raised by honorable senators. Honorable CS, you are released to appear before this House Wednesday next week. Clerk, you may usher in the next CS. Now, Honorable Senators, the CS in charge of Agriculture and Livestock is in the chamber for purposes of responding to question number 036 and 038 by the Senator for Kirinyaga County, Senator James Murango. Now, Honorable Eddie, take your seat. Honorable Boni. Senator James Murango, I will ask you to leave the chamber, and you're the one who is supposed to ask these questions. Now, we will allow the Honorable CS to respond to the two questions, and then thereafter we will interrogate the two questions together. That way we'll be able to manage time. Is that agreeable? Good. So I'll call upon the Senator for Kirinyaga County, Senator James Murango, to ask question number 36. It will be responded to. Before you ask your supplementary questions on that particular question, you will proceed to ask question number 38. The CS will respond, and then you will rise to ask supplementary questions on both questions. Thereafter, we will open the floor to your colleagues to ask supplementary questions. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the CS for Agriculture, what measures has the government put in place to prevent the mixing of different quality of teas before being sold at the Mombasa auction, which distorts the price to the disadvantage of farmers who produce high quality tea? And B, could the Cabinet Secretary provide details on the gains attained from the implementation of tea reform so far, and also provide a commitment towards the continued implementation of the reforms to ensure better returns for the tea farmers across the country? Then question number 38. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the current position of the government on the export of raw macadamia nuts, that is in shell, from the country? B, are there plans to lift the ban on the export of raw macadamia nuts, that is in shell, to ensure farmers get competitive prices for the produce from local processors and licensed exporters? And C, what strategies is the government implementing to build the capacity of local processors of macadamia for enhanced value addition to maximize the benefit to farmers and the overall economy? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just proceed to ask the second question so that the CS takes both of them at a go.
Mr. Speaker, I have asked both questions.
Oh, good. You may now proceed, Honorable CS, to respond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the outset, let me thank you and the Senate for this opportunity, and particularly the Senator Murango for this opportunity to express this response to these two questions, and also to express, Mr. Speaker, that I feel like I'm talking from the wrong place, because my seat is this one over here. So I feel like I'm talking from the wrong side of the house. But it's always nice to be back. Mr. Speaker, in response to the issue of tea reforms, the first item that I am going to respond to is the measures that the government has put in place to prevent the mixing of different qualities of tea before being sold to the Mombasa auction. Mr. Speaker, the mixing of different qualities of teas does not happen before the teas are sold at the auction. However, after the auction, teas are mixed for the purpose of blending. Different markets have different tastes and preferences for tea, which they have formed over time. For example, Mr. Speaker, the Turkish market likes very tough teas, while other markets might like lighter teas. The Yemeni market likes very, very tough tea or very concentrated tea, when other markets might want lighter ones. So the reason why blending is undertaken after the sale of tea at the auction is that the buyers want to achieve certain product tastes and flavors and attributes that are discerned by the consumers in the respective markets. The government has put in place several measures to ensure quality control and prevent the mixing of different qualities of tea before being sold at the Mombasa tea auction. One is the government has developed a standard, what is called KS 2128, to guide on mixing, that is the blending of teas. Compliance to the standard ensures compliance to food safety and hygiene standard qualities and requirements. Every quarter, the government, through the Tea Board of Kenya, undertakes compliance audits of all the tea warehouses and blending facilities in the country. 3, the Tea Board of Kenya also undertakes surveillance audits of the factories to ascertain to adherence with good agricultural and good manufacturing practices and compliance with the terms and conditions of the manufacturing licenses. 4, in terms of the regulatory standards, the Tea Board of Kenya enforces the provisions of the Tea Act 2020 regarding the grading and classification of tea. Producers are required to adhere to these standards and to ensure that only high-quality tea reaches the auction. Number 5, inspection and certification. Tea manufacturers are subjected to regular quality inspections by regulatory bodies. These inspections assess compliance with quality standards and ensure that mixing of different grades does not occur. There is also the aspect of traceability, which is number 6. The government encourages the adoption of traceability system that allow for the tracking of tea from the farm to the auction. This helps in maintaining the integrity of different tea qualities. We also carry out training and capacity building, and the government provides training for tea farmers and processors in terms of quality standards, proper handling, and storage practices to prevent contamination or mixing. And Mr. Speaker, there are penalties for non-compliance. High penalties are imposed on tea manufacturers and traders who are found to mix different qualities of tea. This serves as a deterrent against more practices. Mr. Speaker, in response to the Senator's issue, to the Honourable Senator's issue regarding the gains that have been attained from the implementation of the tea reform so far, and also the commitment towards the continued implementation of the reforms to ensure better returns of tea farmers across the country, the overall objective of the tea reforms is to enhance the competitiveness of our tea industry in order to increase returns of tea growers and other tea value chains. And in this respect, we have increased monthly payments as a result of the reforms. Smallholder tea factories have increased the monthly payment of tea to tea farmers from Kenya shilling 16 to 21 in the east of the lift and 20 in the west of the lift. The earnings by smallholder tea farmers are gradually rising, which will reduce their over-reliance on borrowing expensive loans from SACCOs and proliferation of green leaf hawking to meet their socio-economic needs. The increase in line with the reform agenda on payment to farmers at a rate of 50% of the proceeds of sale on a monthly basis. The total payments have increased from Kenya shillings 50 per kilogram of green leaf in 2022 to shillings 59 in 2023 and 64 in 2024. Total payments have increased from Kenya shillings 34.7 per kilogram of green leaf in 2021 to 59 in 2023 and 64 in 2024. And this is in line, of course, with keeping up what the government tried to transform. The total payment to smallholder tea farmers increased from 44.1 billion in 2021, 67.7 billion in 2023, and 90.5 billion in 2024. Mr. Speaker, in response to the issue of indicating the good corporate governance practices. We have enhanced participation of smallholder tea farmers in management of tea factories. The farmers have elected their directors through elections conducted by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and oversighted by the Tea Board of Kenya in July 2024. There is also improvement in good corporate governance among smallholder tea factories. We have also, in terms of the review of factory management agreements, as part of the reform process, all smallholder tea factories signed new management agreements with the Kenya Tea Development Authority Management Services Limited, and implementation began in July of 2024. The main objective of reviewing the management agreements was to remove skewed and exploitative clauses in the management agreements against smallholder tea factories and to reduce operational costs for smallholder tea factories by reducing the management agency fee, among other costs. The agreements provided for evaluation of the performance of the management agent prior to renewal of contracts, setting by small tea factories of annual performance targets, and payment of cost of staff seconded by the factory, by the management agent, by the agent. In terms of development of tea regulations under the Tea Act 2020, and in order to operationalize the Tea Act 2020, regulations and guidelines have been finalized and subjected to public participation in line with the Constitution and Statutory Instruments Act. These regulations are the Tea Levy Regulations 2024, the Tea Registration and Licensing Regulations 2024, Corporate Governance Guidelines and Code of Conduct for the tea sector, Guidelines on the quality of green leaf for processing by tea factories. The regulations will be forwarded to the relevant committee of the Senate and the National Assembly after consultations with the counties and the holding of national validation forums. Mr. Speaker, the Tea Amendment Bill of 2023. The Tea Amendment Bill of 2023 was passed by the Senate on the 8th of October 2024 and endorsed for presentation to the National Assembly. The Ministry has forwarded further amendments to the National Assembly for consideration in order to address the current challenges facing the industry and enhance the competitiveness of the subsector. Mr. Speaker, export earnings from tea have increased from 136.5 billion in 2021 to shillings 180.57 billion in 2023 and 181.69 billion in 2024. The number of export markets have increased from 82 in 2022 to 97 in 2024. This has been attributed to the enhanced market expansion activities, including trade missions and promotion undertaken in Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, China, Hong Kong, Egypt, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Germany, Canada, the USA, and Ghana. Exports of value-added tea have also increased from 20.3 million kilograms in 2022 to 28.89 million kilograms in 2024. The value-added teas have increased from 3.5 billion in 2021 to 20.08 billion in 2024. This achievement is attributed to the various government incentives, such as the removal of VAT on tea purchased directly from the factory for export and tax exemptions on imported inputs of tea export operating under the special processing zones. Mr. Speaker, in terms of enhancing diversification into orthodox and specialty teas, the production of high specialty teas has increased from 3.7 million kilograms in 2023 to 7.2 million kilograms in 2024 through licensing of orthodox processing capacity and specialty tea manufacturers. 34 cottage factories processing orthodox tea have been established by 2024. It is envisaged that production of orthodox and specialty teas will increase annually to over 60 million kilograms in the next 3 years and over 100 million kilograms in the next 6 years. The government has also provided capacity building to the factories on manufacture of orthodox and specialty teas in accordance with the product requirements of the markets. As a result, earnings per kilogram is expected to increase with over 85% from the current average of US dollars 2.7 to approximately $5 US. Specialty teas fetch high prices compared to black CTC teas. Diversification into orthodox tea manufacturing is also expected to reduce the volume of black CTC teas being supplied into the world market. Mr. Speaker, in terms of cushioning the tea farmers against rising costs of inputs, to cushion the tea farmers against the high cost of fertilizer, the government has for the last 2 years subsidized some 194,000 metric tons of fertilizer distributed to farmers at a price of 2,500 per bag from the 3,500 per bag. That is a cost reduction of 40%. Due to accessibility of subsidized fertilizers coupled with the good weather conditions, tea production for the year 2024 surpassed the 2023 production by 28.21 million kilograms, a growth of about 4.95%, to stand at 598.47 million kilograms against 570.26 million kilograms for the year 2023. It is also significantly higher compared to the 535.04 million kilograms of 2022. Mr. Speaker, in terms of the commitments, the government is committed to the following. Number one is to undertake periodic monitoring of the implementation of the management agreements by the tea factories and the management agent. Number two, it is our intention to curb tea hawking malpractices which lead to processing of low-quality tea leaves. This will be achieved by enforcing the tea registration and licensing regulations 2025. And Mr. Speaker, I want to emphasize there that our tea quality has been compromised to an extent by the fact that there are people who are hawking, who do not have any tea of their own, essentially go to the gates to buy the tea. That is why you hear of tea theft in parts of the Rift Valley, and so on. So effective this week, or effective today, the hawking of tea across the country, Mr. Speaker, will be stopped so that farmers can deliver their tea themselves and to ensure that the quality standards are met. We have also instructed that the tea board takes effective action to control this issue and to ensure that independent processors of tea also buy from registered farmers so that the hawking business can be put to an end. So we intend to gazette the green leaf quality standard guidelines to curb harvesting and processing of low-quality tea. We intend to gazette of tea regulations to operationalize the Tea Act 2020. Working with both houses of Parliament, we intend to make necessary amendments to the Tea Act 2020 in order to address all challenges facing the subsector, and supporting value addition to Kenya tea by funding 2 value addition hubs in Ketepa, that is Kericho, and Nairobi to enhance value addition. In addition, we intend to undertake capacity building of tea factories to manufacture specialty tea, including orthodox based on the market requirements to enhance diversification. We intend to support the smallholder tea factories in establishment of more orthodox tea and manufacturing lines. We intend to facilitate allocation of land for establishment of a common user facility at Dogokundu Special Economic Zone and facilitate joint ventures and PPPs in value addition of tea within the special economic zones. We intend to establish a tea testing center in Mombasa. Sourcing of equipment is ongoing to ascertain the quality of tea. And I want to emphasize here, Mr. Speaker, about the importance of us keeping the quality of tea, because that is what Kenya is known for. Also, the establishing and enforcing guidelines on green tea leaf quality standards in order to address the declining quality of Kenya tea. Export coaching on packaging and branding targets in terms of the medium, small, and medium enterprises along the value chain, and continuous sensitization on market requirements, market linkages to the exporters, and undertaking promotion activities. We want to undertake enhancing market access of Kenya tea by undertaking trade missions and promotion activities in the global markets, that is the traditional as well as the emerging ones. And finally, is establishment of export warehousing hubs, as we have in places like Ghana, DRC, Congo, and Dubai, and bilateral trade agreements to facilitate market access and expansion. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the macadamia, this is a quick one by the Honorable Senator. My response is as follows, that in terms of explaining the current position of the government on the export of raw macadamia nuts in shell, Mr. Speaker, the position of the government is that exportation of raw macadamia, nut in shell that is, will not be allowed. This position is provided for in Section 43 of the AFA Act 2013. Section 43 of the AFA Act 2013 prohibits export of raw macadamia among other agricultural products, except with the written authority of the Cabinet Secretary. And in this case, as the Cabinet Secretary, I see no reason why I should remove the prohibition. Because, Mr. Speaker, the implication of continued lifting of the ban on exporting of raw macadamia nuts would be that it would be inconsistent, first and foremost, with the government policy on the promotion of processing and value addition of agricultural produce, not just the macadamia. I've just referred to tea and talking about the value chain in tea, the value chain in all products that we are dealing with, because it's the only way we are going to create jobs for our young people. So the processing of macadamia nuts locally creates jobs in the manufacturing sector and boosts the economy through enhanced foreign exchange earnings. The macadamia industry in Kenya has created about approximately 200,000 jobs across the value chain. Continued exports of in-shell macadamia benefits only falling buyers who use it as a raw material in their manufacturing, which eventually competes with Kenya, particularly for the US and other markets. This results to loss of jobs in Kenya, in Kenya's manufacturing sector, and reduces export earnings, since the in-shell macadamia nuts fetch much lower prices compared to the kernels. From July 2023 to February 2025, for example, the country has earned 8.7 billion by exporting some 10,670 tons of macadamia kernel against 2.3 billion from exporting 14,384.36 tons of in-shell, that is unprocessed macadamias. This translates to an average price of 161 shillings of in-shell macadamia against an export price of 816 for kernels. So, Mr. Speaker, I have given a table there which establishes what I have just read, and I'm sure the honourable members will see that. So the country earns a lot more by exporting processed macadamia nuts than exporting in-shell, raw, and processed macadamia. So in terms of the plans we have, whether we have got any plans to lift the ban on the export of raw macadamia nuts, to ensure that farmers get competitive prices for their produce from local processors and licensing exporters. Obviously, Mr. Speaker, it is in the ministry's interest that macadamia farmers are kept happy, that we ensure that the protection of farmers is the only way we can grow the processors, because there is no processing of macadamia nuts if there is no growth of macadamia nuts. So some of the strategies that will ensure that farmers get competitive prices for macadamia nuts are that, one, farmers will be assisted to form cooperatives within their counties or even across counties. Through the cooperatives, farmers can negotiate with the local processors and exporters. And Mr. Speaker, towards this end, a few weeks, about 2 weeks ago or so, we had a meeting in my office with macadamia farmers, and we agreed on the way forward as far as that process is concerned, because certain middlemen are taking advantage of the farmers who are not reaching the processors. The way to reach the processor is to ensure that they are working together in cooperatives or circles. Processors and exporters will enter into contractual agreements with the farmers directly and witnessed by both the county and national governments. The farmers have been requested to also register, and I put this request to the farmers, to register in the Integrated Agricultural Management System, that is KIAMIS, to ensure that they benefit from the government subsidy programs that exist and which are now only accessed through KIAMIS. And number 4 is the formation of a multi-stakeholder macadamia nut standing committee to deliberate on farm gate prices and develop a mechanism to determine farm gate prices to avoid farmer exploitation. This may be achieved through collaboration with the county governments as well as the key value chain players. And Mr. Speaker, this multi-stakeholder macadamia nut standing committee is under the AFA oversight, and which is going to be a new body to deal with those issues that I have alluded to. So the government is working with its agencies, and the processors will endeavor to implement a guaranteed minimum price of 100 shillings. And I emphasize that is a minimum price, because if you note, Mr. Speaker, some 2 years ago, in fact 1999, those prices went all the way, not 1999, 2019, those ones went all the way to over 200 shillings per kilogram. So that is a minimum price to protect, to make sure that farmers don't make losses. But obviously, if we expand the market, hopefully the farmers will continue to earn a lot more than that. And in terms of the strategies the government is implementing to build the capacity of local processors of macadamia for enhanced value addition to maximize the benefits to farmers and the overall economy, the government will strengthen its policies and ensure that there is implementation and enforce the policies that will protect processors from unfair trade practices. Further, the ministry will collaborate with other government agencies and private sector to develop and provide training programs and resources that will improve production techniques and maintain quality standards. We will also facilitate access to markets by supporting in produce. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Senator, you have a supplementary question?
Yes. Mstahiki Spika, niko na maswali mbili. Ya kwanza ni kuhusiana na taasisi ya KTDA. kwa sababu juzi kumekuwa na malumbano ambapo walitoa mwenyekiti aliyekuwa ndiye mwenyekiti wa KTDA. Na jambo la kwanza walipofanya hivyo, wale wanaokaa katika ile bodi ya KTDA, ilikuwa ni kutupilia mbali zambuni iliyofanywa ya ununuzi wa mbolea kutoka ambayo inaenda kwa wakulima. Bwana Waziri, mwaka jana malumbano kama hayo iliacha wakulima majani chai kuchelewa kuleta mbolea. Na kwa hivyo ningetaka kujua unafanya nini kumaliza malumbano ambayo iko katika taasisi ya KTDA. Na swali langu la pili na la mwisho kuhusu macadamia. Waziri, nimesoma tafsiri yako ambayo umeleta siku ya leo. Kuna mahali ambapo hatutakubaliana nayo, na mimi ndasema kwa sababu kwanza hii sheria ambayo ililetwa na Hafa mwaka 2013. Na naona mkurugenzi mkuu wa Hafa Bruno Rinyiru wako hapa. Kila mara tukiongea mambo ya macadamia huwa najihisi ni kama tumealika mbu katika kongamano la kutafuta dawa za malaria. Kwa sababu wenye walileta sheria gandamizi katika bunge la kitaifa ni Hafa, ndio maana hii sheria inaitwa Hafa. Waziri, inakuaje mkulima wa mahindi asurutishwe na serikali kuuza unga lazima asage mahindi? Bwana Waziri, inakuaje mkulima kahawa anapopeleka kahawa katika soko la kahawa, yeye haambiwi aende afanye roasting ama aende kupika ile kahawa iende kama imepikwa? Waziri, tuna haja na ngozi. Mpaka saa hii wafugaji utapata ya kwamba ukienda bandari ya Lamu bado wanaruhusiwa kuuza ng'ombe wakiwa hai, na bado tunahitaji ngozi. Ikawa mkulima macadamia, mkulima wa korosho, mkulima wa bigza na wapareto, hawa ndo walitongewa sheria hususan ya kuwafinya. Juzi nimetembelea, mimi ni mkulima. Na waziri, nimesikia ukisema kwamba ulikuwa na kikao na wakulima. Niliona picha na watu wakiwa na makoti marefu, wengine hawana nywele. Kama kuna mtu mkulima macadamia ni mimi. Ninapoongea siku ya leo, naongea kwa niaba ya mkulima macadamia Tongalena ambao hawezi fika kikao hiki akajiongelea. Mkulima Trans Nzoia ambao wanaumia kwa sababu ya macadamia. Mkulima Nyeri mahali umetoka ambao walikutunuku nafasi ya kukaa katika seneti tukufu. Lakini nataka kukuambia siku ya leo wanaumia. Mliokaa nao hao sio wakulima. Ya pili ni kwamba ukitaka nitafute waziri nikupeleke kwa maghala, kwa sababu soko ni mbili. Soko ya nchini na wale ambao wanaongeza dhamana katika macadamia.
Senator,
lakini
bado nasubiri ulize swali yako.
Naelekea hapo Mstahiki Speaker. Nilikuwa naweka msingi dhabiti ndio niweze kuuliza swali Mstahiki Speaker. Najenga hoja. Mstahiki Speaker, sasa swali langu ambao ningetaka kuuliza ni moja. Katika takwimu ambazo umeleta hapa ukasema kwamba macadamia ilipouzwa ikiwa na maganda ilikuwa inaleta takriban shilingi 121. Lakini ikitiwa dhamana ilikuwa inatoka shilingi 816. Ilikuwaje basi wakati ilikuwa inatoka shilingi 816 wakulima alikuwa anapata shilingi 30 peke yake? Na ndio ilibindi waziri aliyeondoka, Waziri Ntuli, kuondoa makataa ile iliyokuwekwa ili wakulima auze macadamia ikiwa na maganda. Na hiyo ingine, soko ni mbili. Macadamia iliyowekwa dhamana na macadamia ambayo haijawekwa dhamana. Sasa ni kusema ya kwamba tuuye ile soko ambayo inanunua macadamia ambayo iko na maganda kwa ajili ya ile ambayo iko nchini, na bei ikiporomoka itakuwaje? Sasa ndio nilikuwa nasema waziri, mimi naomba tafuta wakati mlitoa makataa, mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa nimeuza macadamia yangu katika bei ya shilingi 150. Baada ya makataa, naomba ulinzi wako kwa sababu ya Senator Chute. Hebu nijenge hoja. Kuna maana niliuliza hii swali, kulikuwa na sababu. Na ningetaka kusema kwa Senator, wewe unaharibu mtiririko wa mawazo wakati nauliza maswali yangu.
Senator Chute,
ningeomba ulinzi Bwana Speaker.
You are protected. Senator Chute,
asante sana Mstahiki Speaker. Sasa nilikuwa nasema waziri, tafuta wakazi, kwa sababu wakati mlitoa makataa tayari kuna wale ambao walikuwa wamenunua macadamia na kuyaweka ikiwa na maganda ya kuuza nje. Tuweze kuondoa wale, kama ni Hafa waende watathmini, tuondoe ile macadamia yote yaende kwa sababu niliporudi tena niliambiwa hata shilingi 80 yangu siwezi kununuliwa. Waziri, shamba langu ni eka zaidi ya 70 na makandamia. Kwa hivyo nikiongea, tia hii jambo mkazo, fuatilia, fungua soko kwa wale wako na makadamia ambao tayari ilikuwa imetengenezwa kuwekwa kwa magunia kuuzwa kwa soko iliyo na maganda, halafu tena hiyo ingine ufungie. Hata kama ni 60, 20 iende nje na 80 mbaki. Tuweze pia kukuza pande zote. Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Senators, order. More fire. Order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Let me start with the KTDA, which the Honorable Speaker has rightly, the Honorable Senator has rightly pointed out, has been undergoing some conflicts. And as you know, Mr. Speaker, the matter of the conflicts in KTDA actually went to the courts in this country and was judged, and indeed a court ruling was made, I think about a couple of days ago. I think it was last week or the week before, when the court held that there is now a substantive chairman at KTDA, and obviously my role in the whole thing, as you know, KTDA is a private outfit which corresponds with the government very, very closely because of its importance to this nation. And therefore, I concur with the Honorable Senator that I'll be engaging them very, very closely to ensure stability within KTDA. It is in our interest. It is in the interest of the tea sector. And in my discussions with the new team that is there, with the new chairman, my discussions with them, including my visit with them to DMCC in where our tea is being blended and so on in Dubai, I can say with confidence that I can see unity within the directors of the tea sector at the moment, and my prayer and hope is that that is what is going to happen, and I'm going to engage them to ensure that good working order is maintained for the benefit of our farmers in the tea sector. Mr. Speaker, as far as the macadamia is concerned, I sympathize with the Senator, especially as not just as an honorable senator, but also as a farmer. And I can feel, you know, from where the agonizing issues he has to deal with, not just for himself, but also for his, for the county which he represents. Mr. Speaker, what as a nation we want for, and the policy framework on which we are operating under, is not just to value add macadamia. It is to value add everything that we can. The production of macadamia in this country is about 45,000 metric tons. The processing capacity is about 120,000 metric tons. So, Mr. Speaker, I think what the Senator and I can agree on, and what the House, what the Honorable House can agree on is this, that if indeed we were to go all kennel and start earning the amount of money that we can see that we can earn at 800 and over 800 shillings per kilo, it is important that that ability also be seen in the price of macadamia to the farmers. And it has been established that that can be the case. If we process it, the price can go up at the farming units, at the farm gate. The prices will go up. Mr. Speaker, let's not also forget that we are dealing with an international market, and that the people who are importing these nuts, especially the Chinese people who are buying these nuts, are the second largest producers of macadamia in the world. And what they are doing is that in addition to their macadamia, they buy our macadamia. When we process our macadamia, we export directly to the US market and create jobs for our youth. And not just macadamia, I emphasize. Every other crop that we are pushing towards the value chain improvement and ensuring that we are creating jobs, not just in tea, in coffee, in everything else. Even in wheat, we are insisting that we grow our wheat here, and we are in the process of establishing the policy that can help us to do so. So, Mr. Speaker, my view is that yes, I concur with the Honorable Senator that we engage in the discussions on this matter. And I want to engage the industry, and I'll be happy to engage the Honorable Senator to unravel any issues that affect the farmer. I came into this ministry with the policy of enhancing the farming business and especially putting more money in the farmer's pocket. And therefore, I undertake to engage with the industry to see what we can do, but the policy framework does not change. The policy framework remains that we want to process everything in our agricultural production chains here in the country and create jobs for our children. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Asante Waziri. Senator Murango, kuna swali lingine? Alafu Senator Murango, unajua umesema wewe ni mkulima wa macadamia.
Hapo.
Na umekuwa mkali sana na unaona waziri amekubaliana kila kitu na wewe. Sasa ukiwa mkulima wa macadamia na unafuatilia maneno ya macadamia, iko mgongano wa kimaslahi hapo?
Waziri nadhani amekizana na kila kitu ambayo nimesema. Hatukunja kumbaliana. Lakini amesema tunafaa tuendelee na kuongea. Waziri, mimi ningesema hivi kwa ufupi. Uchukue nafasi uweze kutembelea wale watu ambao ndo wanauza macadamia kutoka nje. Ili uangalie hata kama ni quota system kama inaweza enda. Na ukifanya hivyo, kwa sababu naweza kuambia kama mkulima, bei tayari imeshuka. Niliuza 150 na naongea kwa niaba ya wakulima. Saa hii hata nikipeleka na shilingi 80 siwezi nunuliwa. Kwa sababu wamejaza magara, wamejaza kila mahali na yendi marufuku ilikujia katikati. Kama kupewa nafasi ya kuondoa jamu ya ile macadamia ambayo walikuwa tayari washanunua, alafu tuendelee na hiyo ingine, itakuwa ni vizuri zaidi. Kwa hivyo,
what is your point of order, Senator Hillary?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In your intervention and directives to the Honorable Senator Murango, I did understand you to inquire from him as to whether there was a possibility of conflict of interest. He has instead talked to the Honorable CS instead of responding to the chair. Is he in order, Honorable Speaker?
Yes, Senator Wakili, thank you very much for reminding Senator Murango that before even he went to explaining his matters to the CS. And Senator Murango, you need to address the chair. You cannot be addressing the Cabinet Secretary directly. So, can you please respond to what Senator Hillary has rose on?
Asante sana mstahiki Speaker. Sijui kwa nini Senator Mbonimeta nipendi. Lakini nitajaribu sana kujibu swali. Ningetaka niseme kwamba hata kama mimi ni mkulima mstahiki Speaker, mimi nimepewa nafasi muhimu sana kukaa katika bunge hili ambao naweza ongea na waziri ambao wakulima nchini waweze mfikia kaongea na yeye. Kwa hivyo uchungu nilio nao ni uchungu wa mkulima. Na unajua akae shina la mti ndo anajua, yeye wanajua wale wandudu wanakaa pale wanakula nini. Sasa mstahiki Speaker,
Senator Murango, ungependa kujulishwa na Senator wa Busia?
Yes, Senator wa Busia ni rafiki yangu, lakini wakati mwingine anacheche. Kwa hivyo nitamruhusu kidogo aniambie anachotaka kusema. Asante.
Sawa, Senator Mutata.
Hilo jambo la kwa conflict of interest haliwezi likatokea kwa sababu senator alijipikia kura. Alipenda kupiga kura, alijipikia kura kama mwakilishi wa watu wa eneo lenye anawakilisha. So kupiga ile kura inamaanisha kwamba yeye pia akiwa hapa anajiwakilisha. Kwa sababu alikuwa anachagua mwakilishi na alijichagua kuja kuwakilisha hoja zake hapa kwenye hii bunge. So sioni kama kuna mgongano wowote, na Senator Murango nadhani wanakusumbua bure. Ulijipigia kura.
What's your point of order, Senator Enoch Wambua?
Mr. Speaker, for purposes of order in this House, so that we don't stifle debate, I've heard Senator Bomet insisting that the Senator of Kirinyaga clarifies on whether there is a conflict of interest because he's a farmer of macadamia. Mr. Speaker, that reminds me that a few days ago, no other than the President of the Republic made mention of the fact that people that don't keep livestock cannot talk about livestock, that we should stick to Ndengu because we are Ndengu farmers. Mr. Speaker, that line of thought is very dangerous for this country. That now if a senator keeps a goat, a single goat, and there is a matter here that is discussing goats, that senator now is barred from bringing issues to do with goats. Mr. Speaker, let us allow debate to flow, and in fact, we should be very happy that we have one among us who is a serious macadamia farmer raising issues for and on behalf of his colleagues in the macadamia sector. Mr. Speaker, I wish that you will warn Senator Bomet to desist from stifling debate.
What's your point of order, Senator Hillary?
Mine, Mr. Speaker, was not to stifle debate in any way, or otherwise to impute some conflict of interest. It was an inquiry to the concern raised by the Honorable Speaker to the member who is the person, Senator Murango, as to whether or not there would exist conflict of interest. Otherwise, I fully associate myself with the fact that it is indeed a better option when a participant in farming who does the farming is the person asking the question. He has knowledge, he has experience, and you'd be able to support the business, the agricultural business that he's engaged in. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. What's your point of order, Senator Paul Thangwa?
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Nilikuwa na kuomba mwadhibu mwenzetu hapa, lakini amejitetea kwa kusema yale amesema, lakini ni vizuri ijulikane katika jumba hili Bwana Spika, wakati mwingine mawakili wako na madharau. Sababu kila wakili anaposimama hapa anasema mimi ni wakili, mimi najua hii, mimi nitasema hivi, lakini wakulima wakipewa nafasi waongee.
What's your point of order,
wanaambiwa wanyamaze. Bwana Speaker.
What's your point of order? He's on a point of order.
The senator for Kiambu cannot impute bad faith on lawyers. No, it is incorrect. It is incorrect.
Senator Thangwa, proceed.
Asante Bwana Speaker. Sina mengi ya kuongeza. Umeona tu wakili mwingine amesimama. Hawatupi nafasi sisi ambao sio mawakili tuongee. Lakini ningetaka kusema yeye ame-apologize Bwana Speaker, kwa hivyo hiyo tuikomee hapo. Mkulima aendelee kuongea.
Now, honorable senators, ndakupa nafasi uendelee kuongea. Honorable senators, you know, I asked the question of conflict of interest. It wasn't Wakili who raised it. And if you are following the supplementary question by Senator Murango, he did mention that he has some quantities of macadamia, and he was asking the CS to open the market so that he can sell it. But very well, we will proceed with the supplementary questions. Senator Murango, can you, but this time go straight to the question. Don't lament too much.
Asante sana Mr. Speaker, lakini vizuri kusema ya kwamba pia Waziri Sigei ni mkulima majani chai na ndiye amedhamini sheria ama mswada ulioko mbele yetu ya kudhibiti majani chai. Sijui kama yake pia ni kama yangu ama iko namna gani. Lakini vizuri julikane hivyo. Mr. Speaker, mimi nilikuwa namalizia. Na ninakuuliza waziri, kwa sababu mambo tunaosema ni magumu kufungua soko. Lakini nyoka angeficha sumu yake, watu wengi wangemtumia kama kamba. Toa sumu kidogo ili wakulima waweze kufaidika. Kwa sababu kwa sasa wakulima wamebaki kula njandala, kukula makombo, kwa sababu wale wakiritimba na wale wanajiita ongeza dhamani ambao kwa katikati. Mr. Speaker. Na kwa hivyo Mr. Speaker, mimi najua niliyosema na ningetaka niongezee niseme ya kwamba ulioniuliza Mr. Speaker, mimi sina haja yote, mimi siuzi makadamia katika soko ya nje. Na yangu nauza mahali wakulima anauza. Na juzi Mr. Speaker, mimi nimeuza tani 50 ya makadamia. Kwa hivyo ninapoongea naongea kwa niaba ya ule mkulima mdogo ambaye ako na miti 3 ambaye hawezi kufika hapa akajitetea mbele ya waziri. Naongea kwa wale wakulima wanaoishi katika milima ya Nyambene kule Meru ambao hawezi kutelemuka kuja mpaka Nairobi kujiongelea. Kwa hivyo nisimamapo hapa nitatetea wavuvi, nitatetea wakulima wafugaji wote wale, kwa sababu sisi sote ni wa Kenya. Na tunapoondoa ukabila tuondoe na ubaguzi wa wakulima. Kama sheria ipo iwe kwa mahindi, iwe kwa lima korosho, iwe kwa mkulima makadamia. Na kwa hivyo ndo nilianza kwa kusema sheria katika ibara ya 53 ya kusema makadamia mpaka iuziwe bwenyenye ili iongezwe dhamana. Ni sheria gandamizi, si sheria ambayo iko sawa. Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Asante Senator Murango, na bado hujauliza swali. So tutachukua maswali mengine kutoka maseneta wengine. Senator Mtata, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I have a supplementary question for the Honorable Cabinet Secretary. And my supplementary question is that Kenya is not a communist state to be governed in terms of private property to be determined by the state. Article 40 of the Constitution prohibits the arbitrary denial of property rights. So a macadamia farmer is a property rights owner. That property is his. And if the state believes that there's a public purpose to be earned by banning the export of raw macadamia or unprocessed macadamia, then the state has an obligation under Article 40 to compensate the farmers of macadamia the value that they lose by not exporting their macadamia out. They cannot be used as sacrificial lambs to give people employment. When they go to grow macadamia, they grow macadamia to make money. They don't grow macadamia to have some Otieno, Alhaji or Sobo to be employed, or Mr. Ojanda here to be employed. They grow macadamia to make money. And macadamia is their property. The state has absolutely no right to deny them the maximum benefit of their property. And if there's a public purpose that the government has in terms of creating jobs by retaining the raw material locally, then the government has a duty and an obligation to make sure that it compensates the farmer what they lose by being denied the global market. I don't think the government has got any rights to do what the minister said, and I think the minister needs to apologize to this house by saying that I will not. Who are you? You will not do that as who? This is a government of law, not a government of men.
Senator Mtata.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let's take another supplementary question from Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate our CS for agriculture. I have a similar issue about macadamia, but this one goes to farming in northern Kenya and Upper Eastern. I had a conversation with the CS earlier in regards to something very important. The government normally gives debt reliefs to farmers, let's say coffee farmers, tea, maize, beans, sugarcane, and many other type of farming. But the government has neglected northern Kenya, upper eastern, and many parts of this country which are dependent on livestock farming. Does he really even recognize that livestock is also part of farming, contributing a lot to this country? Having said that, my question would be, some farmers borrowed money through AFC loan, and many farmers lost the animals, up to almost 80% of the animals. And a farmer in Marsabit cannot afford to pay that AFC loan. My question would be, will the CS help the farmers who are unable to pay AFC loans, just as what is happening to farmers in other parts of this country, like farmers being given a subsidy on fertilizer and many, many other subsidies? Can the CS tell us how he's going to help farmers who have not paid AFC loans in terms of some kind of debt relief? Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary, you may respond to those two questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, on the issue of the Honorable Senator from Kirinyaga, I think, yes, we had agreed that, and I take what he said very, very seriously about visiting the macadamia nuts farmers where they are to see and talk to them about the plight that the farmer has. And it is my intention, our intention as a government, Mr. Speaker, that indeed we protect the farmer and make sure that the farmer benefits to the wildest extreme possible, and we will do so. Mr. Speaker, and therefore I will take up the issue with the Honorable Senator. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the public purpose, my friend Senator Omtata, first and foremost, Mr. Speaker, you know, laws are made in this House, and laws are made in Parliament. So the only position I would humbly submit, Mr. Speaker, that I can stand here to speak as is a Cabinet Secretary in a position that is created by the Constitution and this House. So that is indeed the position on which I am speaking. Mr. Speaker, the power or the regulatory framework on which the Senator referred to actually are again anchored in law, in the AFA Act of 2013, Section 43. And it is the one that actually allows the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, not Mutahi Kagwe, but the Honorable Secretary for Agriculture, to make the pronouncements that I have made. That is the position, and that is who made the pronouncements, not the man from Nyeri, as it were. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of Mr. Shute's question, the Honorable Senator Shute, I think the Honorable Senator, I would like to assure you, beyond any doubt whatsoever, that we consider the livestock industry as crucial, not just as important, it is crucial for Kenya's development. Unless we deal with it and give it the appropriate attention that livestock farming demands across the country, then we will not develop, or we will leave large chunks of our country undeveloped. And you know, a nation's strength is measured not by the strongest part of the nation, not by the strongest part of the rope, but the weakest part of the rope. That is how you measure the success of, or otherwise, of a nation. Therefore, I want to assure you, and we have taken serious steps towards livestock farming. As you know, we are in the process of building a large livestock, the Kenya Livestock Industrial Park, that cannot succeed unless we address the issue of livestock farming. And by addressing livestock farming, we are referring to a livestock herder, a person who looks after a cow. That's how far we have to go in order to protect the industry. So I want to assure you, the Honorable Senator, that it is part and parcel of the issues we consider seriously in the ministry. The second part of the question regarding the Agricultural Finance Corporation loans, again, the Honorable Senator was honest to say that we had a meeting prior to my address here, and we agreed to meet up in another 2 weeks after he gets that information, and I get some information, and see what indeed we can be able to do to help the farming community and the persons who are suffering because of that. They are as important as any other farmer in this republic. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Mwinihaji Mohammed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mine with regard to the tea blending in the country or in Mombasa in particular. Packing paper, which contributes about 75% of the cost, is subjected to import duty of 35%, 25% excise duty, and a 16% VAT, which makes the cost higher for our teas, which we blend and pack in the country, than in other jurisdictions. So what is the government doing in order to lower those taxes so that our teas can be very competitive? Number two,
Senator Faki, you're only allowed one supplementary question.
Chair, you know, we are hosting, my county is hosting the tea auction, which is one of the biggest auctions in Eastern Africa and Africa as a whole. And,
so the counties that don't host tea auctions should not ask
hear me
questions.
First, Chair. We are the biggest in the value chain. We are the biggest
very well,
host
ask your question.
Of the value chain. Yes. My second question,
Senator Wambua, what's your point of order?
Speaker, the Senator for Mombasa is inviting you to act in a very discriminatory manner. There are counties in this country that don't host anything. So when it comes to being given the privilege to ask a second question, what will you do with those senators from those counties, Mr. Speaker? The Speaker ruled the Senator of Mombasa out of order. Let him stick to provisions of Standing Order 51C so that we also make time available to other senators to ask their questions.
I didn't insinuate that counties that are not growing or doing any tea are useless. What I'm saying is that as the person who contributes much more on the value chain of tea, I'll be allowed to ask the second question because it is equally important. Thank you. The EPZ Act, Part 8, exempts Senator Onyonka, please. You can invite Senator Busia for tea. The EPZ Act in Part 8 exempts the EPZ factories from restrictions on import quotas, except for trade in firearms or military equipment and other illegal activities. This enables the factory operator to import inside an EPZ to have flexibility in the importation of, for instance, tea that is not locally available, but which they will use to blend with the teas that are available in Kenya. Now, under the Tea Act 2020, it places the EPZ factories which are doing tea blending and packing under the Tea Board of Kenya jurisdiction. And such teas are subjected to very stringent importation rules. For instance, you can only import if it is not available locally. And when you import, it is subjected to analysis on 39 parameters. 39 parameters at the cost of the importer. And therefore, it makes the imported tea for blending very unattractive to our local packers. Yet, we need to do value addition here and blending with other teas so that our tea can be competitive and we sell to the niche markets. So what is the ministry doing in order to cure this anomaly so that the EPZs that are doing tea are at par with the other EPZs? Thank you.
Senator Mundingi.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Waziri, pongezi kwa kuwa serikali iliyokuwako zamani ulikuwa waziri wa afya na wakafanya kazi nzuri, na wakati wa hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza pia muungano umekuwa waziri wa kilimo ambaye mimi ni mwenyekiti mdogo wa kamati ya agriculture. Mambo ya macadamia Bwana Waziri, ile kazi na mipango mlio nayo kwa mkulima si mbaya, pamoja na hava, kwa sababu hava ya zamani ilikuwa haifanyi kazi kulingana vile inafaa, lakini siku hizi inafanya kazi nzuri. Mipango ya kamati ya agriculture, mambo ya macadamia, wakati tunajua ilikuwa toka shilingi 200 kwa kilo moja, na wakati serikali iliingia ikawa inatoka shilingi 30, lakini serikali ikasikia kilio na ikaongezea muda wa parua mwaka moja, ndio macadamia ikaenda shilingi 120. Na wakati hiyo muda iliisha mwezi wa Novemba, sisi tukaongea na waziri alikuwako ambaye alitemwa aongezee miezi 6, ndio kamati ya agriculture na kaunti zile zingine wakae chini tuone vile mkulima atafaidika na manufacturer atafaidika, kwa sababu kwa kipindi ya miaka 3 mnasema incha ngambo macadamia ya Kenya haitaenda kule. Sasa tukaona mnafuatilia vizuri vile ilikuwa yasemekana tutengeneze sheria. Agenda yetu Bwana Waziri ni kuomba mkulima apatiwe kipindi ya miezi 6 parua, ndio muweze kujiandaa na kumfunza vile validation itafanywa. Hakuna mambo mingi. Kwa hivyo ni just tu wewe useme kama mkulima anaweza kupata miezi 6, ndio muweze kuamfunza vile macadamia itakuwa yatengenezwa katika Kenya ikienda nje ya ng'ambo. Hakuna mambo mingi Bwana Waziri.
Third question from Senator Ojienda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My follow-up question is specific to AFA. When the CS was addressing the question of macadamia, he indicated the preparedness of his ministry to deal with several questions, including opening up markets and so on and so forth. The AFA Act deals with scheduled crops under the Crops Act, and we know that recently, Mr. Speaker, and the CS will address this, the Sugar Act 2024 was enacted, and we are now dealing with regulations under the Act. We have 2 statutes underway. We have the Rice Bill under consideration and the Cotton Bill under consideration. Could the Minister explain whether it is the intention or the policy of his ministry to take away crops, scheduled crops, and make them independent and take them away from the administration by AFA under the Act? Or is it the ministry's policy position to consolidate, and how does this impact on the administration and the structure of AFA when crops are taken away and there are specific directors elected or appointed, elected indeed, to represent certain scheduled crops that are now taken away from the administration of AFA? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You have a point of order, Senator Onyonka? Okay, let's allow the CS to reply to those 3 questions, then we'll take some more supplementary. Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the issue, first and foremost, related to the parking that the Honourable Senator from Mombasa raised in terms of the costs, sheer cost. I could not agree with the Senator more. This is a matter that we have raised with the Treasury, and I actually raised the matter also in my presentation to the BPS in the National Assembly, that if indeed we want to develop the value chain and we want to pack tea and take it out of the country as pack tea and therefore creating jobs, just like we are trying to do with macadamia, then it follows without saying that the approach of the entire value chain has got to be multifaceted and from a no-government approach. That is to say that you cannot give with one hand and take with the other. So if we want to develop the packing, because packed tea from Kenya, once you pack tea from Kenya, it will be 3 times as expensive as packed tea, for example, in Dubai. And this is as a result of the increased taxes related to packing paper. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we have engaged the Treasury to ensure that this and other measures, not just this one, these are other measures that can be a hindrance to the value chain development are removed. And it's a matter that I have written to and raised. And I would like this House, when it comes to the issue of budgets, supporting budgets, discussing budgets, I would appeal to this House and the National Assembly to also look at it from a holistic perspective, to look at the budgeting process as a holistic approach to resolving the many areas and growth areas that we are looking at as a nation. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of EPZ and the blending of tea, it is indeed true that countries across the world kind of protect what they have first to ensure that the local industry is not affected and people don't come and say that they are blending when, as a matter of fact, they want us to come and utilize it locally. So I agree with you that it is necessary, sorry, I agree with you through the chair, through the Speaker, I agree with you that it is necessary to do anything possible, if it means importing and then blending it, creating more jobs in our nation, whether it is coffee, whether it is tea, if it means that we're importing and blending it here, the way they do it, for example, at the DMCC, then it makes sense to us. Because again, we are creating more jobs. And we have done that before. We have done it with the teas from across the world, where the buyers, to create specific teas for buyers overseas, we have imported teas to blend them here. And we would like to blend them here as much as possible, not to blend them out there, because the minute you blend them out there, you export jobs. If we blend them here, we create jobs. So I would like to assure the Senator that, again, the Tea Board is looking at the entire policy framework. Because for me, the sing-song is jobs, 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 jobs. As long as we can create jobs, whatever needs to be done, and as long as we can increase our exports, whatever needs to be done, we will proceed to do. Mr. Speaker, and I want also to thank the Honourable Senator, for hosting both the coffee and the tea auctions in Mombasa. That is where we are heading for street after this discussion, to deal with some of those things. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of macadamia, the Senator also raised, the Honourable Senator raised the issue of the solution that lies in terms of the eliminating or getting rid of the current bulk. Because what essentially, I understand you correctly, Senator, is that you are saying that the bulk that is there, the oversupply that currently exists as a result of us stopping the one that was leaving. I think, as I said earlier, the best way is to engage together. And we discuss this matter because there are 2 solutions to it. One solution is what you are proposing. The other solution is to ensure that the persons who are processing, since they are saying they have got 120,000 metric tons capacity to process, and they are saying that the market is wide open and there is demand, then, just like we did with the wheat farms, the best way is to say you are the processors, uptick everything we have got at once, so that we do not have bulk oversupply that is therefore creating a downward spiral in terms of the pricing. But nevertheless, whether it is downwards or otherwise, the price set is a minimum of 100 shillings. That is the price set, and that is the price agreed upon. So it is actually illegal. It is actually illegal for a processor to come and propose buying at less than 100. But I suspect that what could be happening is some middlemen could be buying from the farmer, suppressing the farmer price, and then going and getting their normal price at the processing. And one of the reasons why we want to engage the farmers directly is exactly this issue. If we had the farmers cooperative or farmer circle engaging directly with the NAT association, it would be very easy to deal with that issue, to say nobody is going to pay less than the agreed amount. And that's where we would like, we would like to get. So the important thing is for us to very quickly, and I urge the honorable senators and the other members of in leadership and those in leadership to really help us to get these farmers together so that we can be able to benefit. There will be resistance because people in that business are not also just going to sit back and watch the farmers getting together and eliminating them. So you can expect some resistance. But I think that the end here justifies the means. And I think we have to do what it takes. On the issue of the issue raised by the Honorable Senator regarding the Sugar Act and regulations thereof, the policy of the government is to consolidate as much as we can because it makes it easier. It's cheaper for the taxpayer when we consolidate when we as many of the crops, of the scheduled crops as we can. However,
what's your point of order?
I'm Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, Senior Counsel.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
That is quite a mouthful. So in this house, you can be referred to as Senator Ojenda. Proceed, Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am very conversant with the titles of Senator Ojenda because he happens to be a personal friend of mine. However, I completely concur that indeed he is a professor of law. Regarding the question that the Honorable Senator asked on, is in terms of irrigation, again, I repeat that the idea is to consolidate because it makes more sense, it is easier to manage. However, where, for example, like in the Sugar Act, and I apologize to the House because I'm supposed to have sent the regulations by now, but it takes a bit of the public hearings and so on, take a bit of time. But I will ensure that in the soonest possible time I bring the regulations. In the case of sugar, for instance, one of the reasons why it is managed the way it is because don't forget, Mr. Speaker, that we are in the process of going into a PPP with various organizations in order to streamline the sugar industry and to ensure that the sugar farmer benefits from bringing in the sugar, farming the sugar, and getting paid, more importantly, bringing the sugar and getting paid for it. And the way we have determined that and working closely with the leadership of the sugar growing areas is to license people who are going to manage or work together with the farmers in those areas. And therefore, at that juncture, then the duty of AFA is dramatically reduced and hence not necessary to engage as much as we want to engage with other crops. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order? And the Cabinet Secretary has already sat down.
Bwana Spika, swali langu sisi wakulima anasinda na mambo ya kuelimishwa, mambo ya society na mambo vile makadamia itauzwa. Tunauliza ni ungumu gani ama ni usito gani uwezi kumbalia mkulima miezi 6 ndio sisi tukiwa kamati ya agriculture na wale wengine ndio tuwaelimishe, tunataka makadamia iwe variation kama manjani kama kahawa. Kwa hivyo sisi tunauliza ni ungumu gani uwezi kutoa barua kwa kipindi ya miezi 6. Hiyo ndio swali langu, Bwana Speaker.
Okay, Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we did agree that vile tumekubaliana ni kwamba tukutane, tusuruhishe hiyo maneno mkutano ile tutafanya, lakini kutoka hapa nilivyo, siwezi kuamua mara moja kwa sababu ni lazima nisungumuze pia na wale wengine, nisungumuze na nyinyi, nisungumuze na macadamia nas, nisungumuze na wale processors, ndio tusuruhishe hiyo maneno. Asante sana, Bwana Speaker.
Asante Waziri. Senator Esther Okinyuru.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to first congratulate the new Cabinet Secretary in that department. My question is, farmers in both Kisii and Nyamira counties have actually tried to deal with the issues of low prices, low quality, and consequently low bonus. Because when I look, recently they held a meeting last month which brought together Nyansiongo Tea Factory, Ogembo Tea Factory, Everege Tea Factory, Nyamache Tea Factory, which is on the west of the Rift. Tea, which is on the east of the Rift, is termed of high quality, and farmers in those areas get quite some wholesome bonus. Why is it that in our regions, even after farmers have tried to implement all that has been suggested to them, we are still reaping very little in terms of bonus, Cabinet Secretary? I see there is an issue of testing. Do we have to have someone who's testing by their tongue? Aren't there any other scientific means we would employ so that we give fair chance to tea farmers on the west of the Rift to also feel they are part of this process, and there is value for the agriculture of the tea farming that they are actually engaging, Cabinet Secretary, so that we don't feel like we are actually, our efforts go in vain, Cabinet Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to make a Mr. Speaker, if you will allow me, I would like to first of all congratulate Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, somebody that I know very well and I've worked with before. So Waziri, I karibisha you to this murky waters of our issues. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I have listened carefully what the CS has said, and I wanted to bring him up to speed on something called pyrethrum. CS, pyrethrum is one of the products that has been historically very useful in terms of upgrading the income levels and economic activities in the areas that I represent, and that is Kisii County.
Senator Onyonka.
Yes.
You know you're a veteran in this house.
Yes.
You know very well that you're supposed to ask a supplementary question in reference to the main question that was asked in this house.
I was going to bring it with macadamia also. I'm just, I don't know what that means.
There is a relationship between pyrethrum and macadamia.
Yes.
Interesting. I would like to hear this.
Thank you, sir. The relationship is that these are two products, macadamia and pyrethrum, have a high value. They are basically products which have got a huge international market, and their prices are extremely well taken care of. If you realize, Mr. CS, at one time, pyrethrum after tea was the largest product that Kenya was exporting, because pyrethrin is a product that is natural, that is used even in aeroplanes and all that. I wanted to ask the CS, why is it that we have got success in macadamia, and to a large extent the industry is growing, and yet our pyrethrum has just died? That is the link I wanted to bring. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Veronica Duarte.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I've been looking for the attention to ask for this question. First of all, let me congratulate our Honorable CS for Agriculture and assure him, Honorable CS, that we are expecting a lot from you, especially because you do come from the farming communities. So the agricultural counties across the whole country are expecting a lot from you. But having said that, I have traveled to the US on several occasions, and I have walked through the largest supply chain, being the Walmart. Our tea products, Honorable CS, I hope your officers can stop distracting you because it's an important question. Our tea products, our coffee products are not in the US market. And Honorable CS, if you listen to some of the questions that are being asked here, it's about the price of that tea commodity, coffee commodity, and the amount of money that is getting into the farmers' pockets. They have a problem. The price that is being paid for tea per kilo is not commensurate to the cost of living. It's not commensurate to the input that is being put in the farms. Honorable Speaker, Honorable CS, what is the ministry doing to ensure that we access better markets, achieve better prices for our coffee and tea products, and how do we ensure that those prices, once they are paid, that they get into the farmers' pockets, and that we reduce the people, middlemen, who are cutting away money from the bonuses and payments that are due to tea, especially the banks which are taking very high interest rates. Is there nothing the ministry can do to ensure that farmers are receiving, if they receive finance from any bank, based on the guarantee of their bonus or the tea price, that the same is not wiped away by interest rates that are being cutted away by commercial banks? What is the ministry doing to mitigate that?
Let's take one more question from Senator Paul Thangwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question, and first of all, is to congratulate the CS in his role as the CS Agriculture. But my question, Mr. Speaker, we understand when this macadamia ban was effected, the good CS was not the CS then. So I would want to urge him, please do not defend this ban. Do not defend it. Because we do have information, some cartels infiltrated the ministry to have this ban effected so that they can be the sole supplier or purchasers of this macadamia. And since they understand the farmers do not have very nice storage facilities, they will sell to them at a throwaway prices. So, Bwana CS, it is my question, because you have said you cannot announce it today here. And I just want to remind you, if you treat Kenyans abnormally, they will treat you abnormally, Bwana Speaker. What I would want to urge you, give us a timeline when you're going to consult with Kenyans. Just lift this ban with the citation that it never went through public participation, so that farmers can sell their macadamia wherever they want to sell. So my question is, what timelines are you going to consult the farmers so that you can remove this ban? Thank you very much, Bwana CS.
One more question from Senator Wafula.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity once more to appreciate and congratulate the Minister for Agriculture for the appointment and a good job being done currently. Mr. Speaker, my question is in tandem and in line with what my friend Senator Onyonka had just put down, that the tea industry, I can see here the stakeholders are clearly comparing notes and exuding confidence on the content about tea. Waziri, I want to request that this similar engagement that is being seen on the tea sector can be extended to the coffee sector in the western part of the Republic of Kenya. Because the coffee farmer in the western circuit and North Rift, Waziri, most of them are not getting anything above 80 shillings as the prices ought to be. And I'll be glad as a member and the chair of agriculture to organizations and platforms in the Western Belt to articulate that particular matter. And as you all know, Honorable Waziri, the production of, good production of coffee, tea, maize, and all that goes in line with fertilizer. I also want to request that that particular part of the country should be addressed, and specifically my concern is in Mount Elgon region, because they don't have the last mile connectivity of fertilizer to Cheptai's Kapsakwony zone, and looking forward to that engagement. And finally, what is your ministry doing to prop up macadamia farming in Bungoma County, Western Region, and in particular Tongareni constituency, where macadamia is farmed, but we have never seen the foot of government on the ground? Thank you, Waziri.
What's your point of order, Senator Faki?
Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna swala la malumbukizi ya chai katika auction ya Mombasa kwa sababu ya bei iliyoko juu ya chai hiyo. Je, waziri atafanya nini kuhusiana na swala hilo? Na vile vile pia serikali ilitoa mwongozo kwamba kunwa chai maofisini imefungwa kwa sababu ya mambo ya kukaza mshipi. Je, kuna mipango ya kuondoa agizo hilo ili chai iweze kununuliwa kwa wingi na watu waweze kununua chai katika maofisi? Asante.
Cabinet Secretary.
Let me deal with it's quite a number. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. From the outset, the last question, tungetaka sana watu wakunywe chai sana maofisini na nyumbani, lakini wajua saa ingine hela inaleta shida, na sio tu nyumbani, hata kwa serikali saa ingine inaleta shida. Na tukinywa sana tunaletwa hapa tuzungumzie hiyo maneno na fedha hizo zilitoka wapi na tunapoteza pesa namna gani na kunywa chai. Kwa hivyo bwana senator, hiyo inakata na njia mbili, lakini sana sana we would like to encourage people to have as much tea as possible. Mr. Speaker, I will not go by any particular order because there's quite a number of issues to respond to, but I'll try and put some system into it. First and foremost, the issue of Senator Onyoka's issue regarding pyrethrum, and you are right, Mr. Speaker, I had not actually prepared myself to speak on the issue of pyrethrum because I was coming to speak on the issue of tea and macadamia, but I'll say this to the Honorable Senator, that it is true that there needs to be some attention given to the area of pyrethrum, and the government through AFA is actually looking at pyrethrum. In fact, I've gotten some letters from pyrethrum farmers who want me to go and see them and discuss various things, including payments that apparently that they have not received for a while. So I am alive to the fact that there are issues regarding both pyrethrum and cotton that we need to visit the areas and address. And I undertake to do so. But however, having said that, the prices of pyrethrum through the AFA offices have actually been going up over the last 3 years. And you will recall that the pyrethrum issue started deteriorating because of inconsistencies of production. The markets that we were serving in the United States started looking elsewhere. So if we go into this, one of the issues that we'll have to address very carefully is consistency in production. That once we introduce ourselves to a market, we must consistently supply that market. Because what happens is that once you break the supply, then the markets look elsewhere, and it becomes very difficult to reintroduce them back to ourselves. So we need to look at both growing as well as the stability in the market. However, AFA is in fact providing dryers, among other inputs, to try and help the pyrethrum sector, and also working on the markets that we have. I undertake, as I said, it is not something I was quite ready to respond to, but I agree with the attention that it deserves. And in the issue of the quality of tea, again, in response to the quality, which I had alluded to in the discussion that I had, actually testing has got nothing to do with the quality, and the testing cannot improve or otherwise the quality. What is going to improve the quality is the crop husbandry and what we do all the way from how we plant and treat the tree, how we especially harvest the tea. Because what has been happening in some of those areas, and that is why in the area address that we made, we banned hawking. And one of the reasons we buzz hawking is that once hawkers come into the market, what they are doing is that, and you have heard about it, Honorable Speaker, you have even heard about theft of tea in the Kericho area and other areas, theft of tea. People even plucking tea at night. You know, when that tea comes, because you are unable to tell which part of which tea is that. So what happens is that one bunch spoils the whole, you know, one apple, so to speak, as the song sang. One apple spoils a whole bunch of apples. So if we get one or two errant traders or hawkers bringing in tea that is not good, it messes with the whole crop. So it is in the interest of leadership, it is in the interest of farmers, and we have directed the Kenya Tea Board to ensure that this is done, that restriction, the issue of harvesting is harvested properly. If that is done, there should be no difference in terms of the quality of tea. So, and let's not forget that the buyer of these teas is not ourselves. You know, Kenya is a very small market for our tea. The larger part of our tea market is overseas, and they determine the teas that they want to buy, not us. KTDA does not determine who is going to buy the tea from Egypt. They will simply come and choose their own tea and take it. That's the market. So the issue of the quality is something for us to address, both as farmers, even a security issue, because it is currently even a security issue, where people are stealing tea from farms. So I agree with the Honorable Senator that there is some work to be done there, but the policy framework that we have introduced, some of which I have announced even today earlier, is what is going to be the answer to some of those differences in the tea quality, east, west, north, south, particularly in the west. But the gap is not that big. We just need to be a bit more strict and firm, because what happens is that when you ban hawking, then somebody somewhere who has got that kind of business starts to put political pressure so that we open hawking, you know, and then we go back to square A. So I would like also the support of the House to ensure that when we take those measures, that we stick to them. When we tell the independent tea processors that they must buy from farmers, not from hawkers, then again, we would like the support, you know, of the leadership in the area and the House, so that we stick to that and we don't cave in to political pressure that comes in by those who are the practitioners of what practices that mess up with our tea. Mr. Dhanwa, I thank you. Honorable the Senator Dhanwa, I thank you. And the issue of the ban affected, first and foremost, let me express something. This ban was lifted for a year. All right? Some time back, the ban on the exportation was lifted for a year. And the agreement was that within that year, then it would not be necessary to extend it again. Following that discussion, the ban was extended for another 1 month. All right? We are now at a place where the year has gone, the month has gone, we are still discussing the ban. That is why I am saying, for me to make a pronouncement on that issue and make a decision on it, it is not a singular decision. It's a consultants. It is a decision full of consultancy, including the nut people themselves, because if they are able to take up everything we have, then it will not be necessary to open up, but they would have to take it up. So allow me, give me the next 2-3 weeks so that I'm able to engage on that, on those issues, because they are profound and important. Again, the chair of the agricultural sector raised the issue of the coffee sector and the control and quality of Western, North Rift, and so on. In my view, I think the future of coffee and the future of the coffee sector is largely going to be in those areas that large farms still exist. We now know that west of the Rift, Bungoma, you know, places like Narok, Kericho, there is now big farmers who are starting to grow coffee in those sectors, and we want to support them. We want to make sure that we support that sector as much as we can. Again, the quality of the tea, whether tea or coffee, is something that goes to husbandry, and the taste of the coffee or otherwise is what is going to determine who buys that coffee. So it is very difficult to enforce, purchase that does not discuss the qualities. The quality determines the price. And what I would like to see, and what we are working on through the AFA, is also to engage the farmers. As you say, some of those areas are very new, coffee farming areas, but we are ensuring that our presence is felt. As early as late as last week, I was engaging Governor Sang in Nandi, who wants me to go and open coffee factories in Nandi, and I have agreed to do so. And in those engagements, that's when we address the issue of quality and say this is the way we must deal with it. The only response to quality and price. When you discuss price, you discuss quality. You never discuss price leaving out the word quality. And you never discuss quality without discussing price. One follows the other, and that's the way the market is. And I think there is a big future in terms of that's where the land is. There is more land in that area. In the traditional coffee growing areas and tea growing areas, the land division is a problem. And they have become such small sizes that the future is doubtful in some of those areas. So even the productivity per acre is another issue that we are having to deal with. Then on the matter of loans, I think I wanted to inform the following, that the green leaf loans, that are given by the board, are actually at 8%. The loan is given at 8%. We also encourage that our farmers borrow from the Agricultural Finance Corporation. The AFC loans are at 10%. And obviously, when you go to the commercial farmers, and some farmers do, I couldn't agree with you more that the interest rates are actually prohibitive. It is difficult to make money borrowing at those kind of rates. But the other way of supporting them is not just by borrowing, it's also the inputs that the government has to put in. And I would like to seek, Mr. Speaker, that we understand as a nation and as a house, as parliament, that there is no country in the world that runs a successful agricultural sector without subsidies. We have to be prepared to subsidize the farmers. We have to be prepared to subsidize the livestock, the livestock people. There is no nation that can do it simply on a commercial basis. If there is no subsidized fertilizer, subsidized seeds, which is the area that I would like to get into now, let's subsidize fertilizer even further than we can, as long as our budgetary constraints expand a little bit. The fiscal space allows us. Let's give more money to subsidies in terms of all inputs that we have. Let's remove any taxes thereof for farm inputs. That way we can compete effectively and our farmers can earn something. But let's not forget that a French cow is subsidized to the tune of $2 per day. $2 per day. That is the competition we have out there. So let's never kid ourselves that if we leave our farmer to the free market, they will survive and expand and grow. That's not going to happen. And it's not just the small-scale farmers, even the large-scale farmers, because some crops like wheat are grown in large scale. They are not grown in small scale. So I once again would urge that the institutions that we have, they try as much as possible and borrow from the institutions that we have. We are in the process of recapitalizing the AFC to give them a bit more space so that they are able to lend more money to the farmers that they currently than they have been, because they have also been squeezed. And as you know, we changed policy to also look a lot more at providing a working capital as opposed to purchasing of properties. We didn't close it completely, but we did say let's emphasize more on provision of working capital. And that hopefully can try and mitigate a little bit in that space. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ndwati.
Could the Honorable Cabinet Secretary explain how the access to affordable loans for farmers is being done because what you will find with the AFC is that the big farmers are able to access those facilities, but the small farmers even have no idea of their existence. The small tea farmers and the coffee farmers have no idea of the existence of a cheaper loan from institutions like AFC. So you will find they are asking from the commercial banks in the market who are ripping them off with 15, 16, 17% of interest. So by the time they come around to receive their bonus, all of it is swiped out of the pockets by the commercial banks. How do we ensure that access to the AFC is information that is available to the small-scale farmers who are struggling with
What's your point of order, Senator Kajong?
Mr. Speaker, I wish you could direct the Honourable Minister to respond with precision and brevity. He is an old member of this House and is speaking as if he misses the days when he would speak on the floor. Because looking at the time, there's very short time, and many of us want to ask questions. He's a good friend of this House, but you could limit him so that he presents candid, quick answers to allow us to field more questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's, Cabinet, Senator Ndwati, I think the CS will respond to your clarification after taking these two last questions from the House. Yes, Cabinet Secretary, you will clarify.
Yes, let me
once
do that.
We've taken the two questions.
Very well.
Senator Olekina, what is your supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, I'm tempted to ask different questions because I see the line being taken is different. I wanted to understand about the land in Tanariva, but I can be guided by you.
Senator Olekina, you have to ask your question related to the main question asked
Thank you, Mr.
to the Cabinet
Speaker.
Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, the reason why I did that is because the distinguished Senator Veronica sits with me in the House business, and we had agreed that we remain focused on the question that we ask so that we don't ambush the Cabinet Secretary. But my question to the Cabinet Secretary is very clear. The question that was asked was about what measures is the government putting in place to ensure that the grading system is done properly so that the quality of different teas is being sold at the auction. Now, my question is directly related to that. When you look at Narok County also produces quite a lot of tea. Is there any measures being put in place by the government to ensure that tea, which is produced from different climates, Narok County has a different climate. It has almost like tropical, it's got highlands, it's got lowlands. You'll find that in Kiptagit tea, which is located in Narok County, that is sort of like the highlands. But when you go to Kilgoris, which is also highland, where the tea is also being grown there and next to Kisii, the temperatures fluctuate. So the quality of tea is different from the tea that is being sold in Limuru or Kericho. Is the ministry now only going with the, Buy Kenya products of Kenya, or are we going down to the level of counties where we say this tea is from Narok County, the Masai Mara region, or it's from Kericho, so that when people are buying, we can also be able to price it better? And finally, on the same question, which is the same question.
Only one question, Senator. You know that very well. Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me start by kicking off by saying I want to take this opportunity to congratulate CS. Indeed, he's brought in the many years' experience into the sector, and we'll be looking forward to bringing the agricultural sector, in which I sit in the committee in the Senate. Having said that, would the CS tell us whether he's planning, owing to the fact that we have neglected research, and especially more specifically on the macadamia, to provide seedlings that have been improved, especially in regions like Nyeri that does very, very well, but because of the diversity of the climatic conditions, we find that we need to have almost a sub-county specific seedlings that will do well there. And would Waziri tell us whether he's planning to introduce these seedlings and whether he's also planning to work with the institutions of higher learning to provide further research on the seedlings that we provide. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to hear from the CS with whom we have served in this House, and his voice rings in very familiar tones. He has talked about subsidies, and he has emphasized that every economy, every sector, subsidies must be there. I want to ask the Minister, what is our current agricultural policy? When Mwai Kibaki was president, we had the strategy for revitalization of agriculture, and the minister was in the cabinet. That strategy talked of consolidation, and we ended up with AFA. Today, AFA is dead. Almost every other crop has divested from AFA, the latest being cotton. Tea has divested, fisheries has divested. We have not processed in this House a sessional paper on agricultural policy, Mr. Speaker. The Foreign Affairs Ministry brought a sessional paper on Kenya's foreign policy. Agriculture is so important, contributing to 33% of our GDP, that we cannot allow agricultural sector policies to be driven by individual ministers. Mr. Speaker, we have had almost 5 ministers in that space in a period of 6-7 years. And every one of them comes with a personal passion. It cannot be run by personal passions. It should be run through a coherent policy that has even been processed by Parliament as a sessional paper. Could the minister confirm to this House that he will bring that policy to this House to be considered alongside the other policies that the executive has brought? Because it looks like the agricultural sector is running on autopilot or running on the whims of the minister and the whims of the president. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me start with the last one and then build up to the other ones and to confirm 2 things. First, AFA is not dead. My friend, the Senator Honorable Kagwe, knows well that AFA is not dead. AFA is very much alive, and it is holding quite a few, quite a bit of work that it is currently working. Now, on the issue of consolidation or otherwise, Mr. Speaker, this responsibility of disintegrating this is both the responsibility of the national government as well as interest groups. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the bills that are brought to these houses, the bill that have been brought on coffee, the bill that was brought on sugar, the bill that was brought on cotton and pyrethrum and so on, these are bills that are brought to this House. And in fact, in my BPS address to the National Assembly, I asked for protection of the same, to say that let us not disintegrate, because once we go that direction, then you'll have so many institutions that are going to exist all over the place, it will be impossible to manage it. So one of the policy issues is to ensure that we stay consolidated rather than expanded, rather than disintegrated. So I think the Honorable Kagwe, as the Senator knows through the Speaker, is that in the last 1 month, we have been trying to do some of the work that you have actually proposed. And the policy aspects is one of the areas that I'm looking at. So yes, I can confirm to you that it is not an area that we are ignoring. I think we have to have a framework where whoever is there, whoever sits on the seat, can continue with the work that is there based on a certain framework of work that we are doing. For me, as I said during my interview here, is one of the issues that we are really concerned about and shifting policy towards is A, the issue of value adding in everything that we have got, and it was there also in the years that you are referring to because I haven't been there. The issue of ensuring that the farmer is protected and earns more. These are policy issues in framework and forms very different decisions, even budget decisions, when you consolidate them together. On the issue of the loans, Greenleaf Feather is a circle owned by by the tea farmers themselves, Greenleaf Circle, because it is via the tea board of Kenya. And the Greenleaf Circle is an area where the tea farmers borrow money at 8%. So they don't have to go for their inputs to central, to commercial banks and pay as much as 18%. But I agree with the Honorable Senator that it is not always that they get opportunities to do so. My senator Honorable Amatenga, it's true that we are looking at macadamia holistically. We are supplying macadamia seedlings. And indeed, there is quite a bit that people have come around and collected. And I can promise you that even Nyeri County will not be left behind in the supply of macadamia seedlings. I am not sure whether, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Orekina, my friend, Senator of Narok, the tea sector, and I want to congratulate the Narok County for the fact that they have gone into serious tea farming. But as you know, what happens is that at the auction is where the teas are blended, and they are blended for specific reasons. So the tea from Narok, for example, might be blended with a tea from somewhere else, depending, and I had answered this question actually a bit earlier in the session, depending on who wants what. The Turkish people, for example, might come and they want a specific taste of tea. So we would take, for example, the Narok tea and blend it with another tea so that they can produce the taste required for a specific market. And when we sell tea from Kenya, we have encouraged very much the issue of saying that this is Kenya tea, Kenya tea, Kenya tea, Kenya tea. However, there are individuals who are now promoting tea as Kenya tea, but also specific to other areas. But we would encourage that the brand Kenya tea be first and foremost the song that you like to sing. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senator Eddie Kokech.
Mr. Speaker, just a clarification on what the good senator from Homa Bay had asked. I don't feel like it has been exhaustively answered. Number one, what is the basis of the minister telling the House that AFA is not dead? Can he confirm to this House whether AFA has got a board? Can he confirm to this House whether AFA has got regulations that are established in the last 10 years that are clear to the nation? And lastly, I don't feel like the issue of a session paper on a proper policy was exhaustively answered as requested by Senator Kajwang. And timelines for that.
Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. On the issue of AFA, AFA has a board, actually, which was brought in last year. It was actually made just before. The board was announced last year, and the DG also announced last year, and the DG is here with me. So I can assure you that the AFA is very much alive, and is undertaking, and his work, and is undertaking. Mr. Speaker, that could very well be true, but the fact of the matter is that it is alive and kicking. I can assure you, it is alive and kicking. And very soon you'll be hearing very loud things that are coming from it. Yes, I had spoken about the regulations and said that, and I'd apologize that the regulations were delayed, but I undertook to bring it to this House ASAP. You did speak about the issue of Homa Bay, the issue regarding Homa Bay. I think I comprehensively, addressed the issue, because the matter that had been raised was the issue of what we are doing about the coffee, the encouragement of the coffee, and so on in that area. And we agreed that we are very happy and very excited. As you know, Kenya used to be one of the largest producing coffee countries in the world. We are now down to number 7, even within the region. So we are excited about the fact that there are new areas that are opening up for coffee growth. However, we must also accept the fact that there will be necessary training, to go along with it, because of the various quality issues that I raised. That it is not enough that we plant coffee or tea or whatever else. There has to be training so that we plant coffee that produces good quality. And everything else around it will be done. As for the session paper and the work that is going on, I need time, Mr. Speaker, to also look at what exists in the ministry. You know, I have to look at what has been done. I have got the session of paper that the Honorable Kajwang referred to, the session of paper that was worked on during the previous administration, where I also served and helped in crafting the same session of paper that we are talking about. So I've got those papers, but I need time in order for me to process and look at what new things ought to be done, given the changes that have also happened globally and how our markets are being involved. There was no very serious challenges in terms of environmental issues during that session of paper. Now there is. ICT was not a very crucial issue during the making of that session of paper. Now it is. Areas that were not growing certain crops are growing the crops now. So there is work to be done in terms of the development of that. And I would like to seek time in order for me to do that. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable senators.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. We have come to the end of your question time. I would like to take this opportunity on my behalf and on behalf of the House to first and foremost congratulate you for your new appointment to as a Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development, and to wish you all the best in your duties in serving this country and ensuring that we get agriculture back to where it was before, Cabinet Secretary. Thank you very much, and you may take your leave. Honourable Senators, we will proceed to the next order.
Order number 8, motion, reports of the 6th and 7th, 63rd and 64th sessions of the OACP Parliamentary Assembly and the 43rd and 1st sessions of the APCU Joint Parliamentary Assembly held in Brussels, Belgium and Luanda, Angola, respectively.
I think Senator Kathur is not here. We shall defer it. Next order.
Order number 9. Motion, report of the 9th Interparliamentary Global Conference of Young Parliamentarians held in Hanoi, Vietnam from 16th to 17th September 2023.
Honourable Senators, it is now 1 p.m. Time to adjourn the Senate.